Chapter 591. At noon that day, on the city wall of the South City Gate of Yangon County. The cold wind was biting cold. Zhuge Yuanhong stood on top of the city wall, watching the blood-red torrent of cavalry leave quickly, but his expression was very serious. "Father, what are you unhappy about? Tell me," Zhuge Yun, who was next to him, said after observing his father's expression. "Yes, nothing." Zhuge Yuanhong shook his head. Just now, after Ting Qingshan returned, Zhuge Yuanhong transmitted his voice to ask, and the answer he received was, "Shen Gongfu and the Shooting Sun Heavenly Wolf are both dead." Only then did Zhuge Yuanhong feel at ease to send out the army. At the same time, Zhuge Yuanhong also felt a little helpless in his heart. Presumably, Qingshan has also guessed that I have no evidence, and it's just empty talk. He indeed did not find any conclusive evidence. When Ting Qingshan asked, "Is the Shooting Sun God Mountain really the mastermind behind this?" Zhuge Yuanhong knew that Ting Qingshan had guessed the mystery. Although Ting Qingshan was not good at scheming, he was also an extremely intelligent person. Neither the master nor the disciple spoke of the matter, but they both understood. "Qingshan, for the sake of my Guiyuan sect, I'm sorry," Zhuge Yuanhong silently said in his heart. "As long as we occupy Yanzhou, the land of Yanzhou and the 8 counties of Yangzhou, we will have hundreds of millions of people under our jurisdiction. My Guiyuan sect will only need 100 years to become a truly powerful super sect. At that time, we won't need to rely on Qingshan." On the 9th day of the 12th lunar month, the Long Gang army of the Guiyuan sect set off. Soon, sect master Zhuge himself, after arranging many matters, also personally went to meet up with the Long Gang army. He presided over the Long Gang army, destroying everything along the way. Some of the Black Armored Corps, as well as a large number of ordinary troops, were also quickly mobilized, heading towards the territory of Yanzhou. For a moment, the eyes of the entire 9 prefectures were gathered here. Although a war broke out, a joyous event happened in Yong'an County. The founding master of the internal martial art, Ting Qingshan, actually proposed to the Lei clan in the county city of Yong'an County on behalf of his son. The Lei clan also happily agreed. The two sides also set a date for the wedding, the 18th day of the first month. In Yong'an County, there were many carriages parked outside the Lei family mansion. I truly never expected that Lei Luotian would be able to turn things around one day. Inside a luxurious carriage, 2 men wearing black fox fur coats and purple fur coats were conversing. Ever since his brother and sister-in-law died, the Lei family has suffered a disastrous decline. He hadn't expected Lei Luotian to be under his big brother's protection. Even the daughter his brother left behind is helping Lei Luotian. This is called lucky. I've seen that little girl last time. She's soft and weak. I didn't expect her to marry into Ting Qingshan's family and become their daughter-in-law. This time, the Lei clan is really going to strike it rich. It was obvious that these 2 men lived like princes. They were 2 famous salt merchants in Yangzhou. Although there were only a dozen guards outside the luxurious carriage, all of them were first-rated warriors. Every single first-rated warrior had cost the 2 salt merchants a lot of money in order to invite them. The 2 of them together had more than a dozen first-rated warriors as guards. Ordinary salt merchants couldn't compare to them. "Master, we've arrived." The carriage stopped. "We've arrived. Let's go," the man wearing the black fox fur coat said with a smile. "I didn't expect that I would be on good terms with Lei Luotian." The man wearing the purple fur coat shook his head and smiled bitterly. "Generations of hard work can't compare to this daughter's marriage. That depends on whose family she marries." After these 2 rich merchants got off the carriage, the surrounding guards immediately gathered around them. "TSK. Look, there are so many carriages at the entrance, and it seems that they are not ordinary families. The current Lei clan is not the Lei clan of the past. You and I are late." The two rich merchants looked at each other and smiled. They led their subordinates towards the entrance of the Lei clan mansion. In the land of the 9 prefectures, to ordinary people, the great salt merchants were extraordinary figures. Even when Tingjia village was not prosperous, the leader of the guards under the command of a great salt merchant made Tingjia village cautious. Even when the silver used to forge weapons was stolen, Tingjia village could only endure. Not to mention the extremely wealthy salt merchants. However, nowadays these great salt merchants had to curry favor even with the in-laws of Ting Qingshan. After all, with their status, they didn't have the qualifications to befriend Ting Qingshan, who stood at the peak of the land of the 9 prefectures. They could only settle for the second best and befriend the in-laws of Ting Qingshan. On the 19th day of the first month, "Father, mother, drink some tea." Ting Qingshan and his wife, Li Jun, sat on chairs while his new wife, accompanied by her husband, Hongwu, came to serve tea. Yes. Ting Qingshan and Li Jun each took a cup of tea. "Hongwu, take little Ru with you." Li Jun saw that her new wife was a little nervous and ordered. Yes. Hongwu left with his new wife. After a while, Ting Qingshan and Li Jun also arrived at the training field of the East Flower Garden. At this moment, the East Flower Garden still had many paper scraps and cloth strips left from yesterday's bustling event. Yesterday was his son's wedding. Many people in the land of the 9 prefectures who were friends with Ting Qingshan all came to drink a cup of wine. "Sovereign Ting." A hearty voice sounded. Ting Qingshan turned his head and saw a burly man with a face like steel needles walk over with a smile. He cupped his hands and said, "I have disturbed you for a long time. Little Ru's wedding has been arranged. I am here to bid farewell to Sovereign Ting." "Brother Luotian, why are you in such a hurry?" Ting Qingshan smiled and said, "Stay for a few more days. There are many places around the Great Yen Mountain that you haven't been to." "No, I still have things to do at home." Lei Luotian chuckled. This burly man seemed to be older than Ting Qingshan. However, Lei Luotian was only around 30 years old. He was indeed younger than Ting Qingshan. However, Ting Qingshan's appearance was no different from that of a person in his 20s. Every time Lei Luotian thought of this, he would exclaim in admiration, "This is a true expert. At first glance, he looks like an ordinary person. Who would know that he is Ting Qingshan? I didn't expect that I, old Lei, would talk to Ting Qingshan and even call him brother." When Lei Luotian was still a teenager, Ting Qingshan's name had already spread throughout the world. "If that is the case, I won't ask you to stay," Ting Qingshan said with a smile. Then, he watched as the burly man left. "Little June, Hongwu's wedding has been arranged. I can also cultivate in peace," Ting Qingshan said with a smile. "Qingshan, I am worried about one thing," Li Jun said with a frown. Li Jun frowned and said, "According to what you said, Qingshan, last December, although the shooting sun god mountain was the one who poisoned my son in Yong'an County, the golden masked man was the one who came up with the idea. This golden masked man, Qingshan. I feel that he is haunting me. I can't feel at ease. I can't feel at ease either. However, I can't do anything about it. This man is too cautious. I can't find him at all." Ting Qingshan shook his head. "Little June, don't worry. Hongwu and Linlin are both in the Xingyi sect. What are you worried about? We are in the light and he is in the dark. We can only deal with the changes by remaining calm. The Xingyi sect is impregnable. As long as this golden-masked man, who seems to be Gu Yong, makes a move, I will seize the opportunity and kill him. When that time comes, I will definitely unmask him. I will see if he is really Gu Yong," Ting Qingshan said in a deep voice. After all, Ting Qingshan was only guessing the golden-masked man's identity. No matter how confident he was, he couldn't be sure until he saw the face behind the mask. In the boundless desert of the western region, under the sunlight, the desert seemed to distort. A caravan was moving slowly in the desert. These people were all riding on camels and moving forward slowly. There seems to be someone over there. You must be seeing things. Where did he come from? It's true. There's only one. He disappeared in a flash. You must be seeing things. Last time I saw a mountain. When I got closer, there was no mountain. The people in the caravan were chatting casually. 50 li away from them, there was indeed a mysterious figure wearing a black cloak and a golden mask. Every time he flashed, he would cover a distance of 100 zhang. After 2 flashes, he disappeared from their sight. This is the only thing I can do now. The black-cloaked, golden-masked man's eyes were cold. As he hurried along, he thought to himself, I have thought of all kinds of methods, but none of them worked. When the shooting sun god mountain killed Ting Hongwu with poison, the heavens really favored Ting Qingshan. Ting Qingshan actually went to Yong'an County City at that time. In the entire world, I can bewitch or ask, but I can't kill Ting Qingshan. I can't ask or bewitch anyone who can kill Ting Qingshan. The black-cloaked, golden-masked man was in great pain. He had thought of ways to deal with the Mani Temple and the Ying family in the land of the 9 prefectures. He had even gone to many islands in the East Sea to look for real experts. Unfortunately, none of his attempts succeeded. For example, the strongest emptiness realm demonic beast in the barbarian tribe temple, the black demonic dragon, was extremely powerful. However, after staying in the barbarian tribe temple for more than 10 years, the black demonic dragon didn't pay any attention to him. He only had a friendly relationship with the demon beast, Black Crow, and they had become good friends. Put yourself in a desperate situation and then live. It's worth it to exchange my life for Ting Qingshan's. This time, this is the last move. 2 attempts to kill. I don't know if I can succeed. If I fail, I will die. If I die, then so be it. I can't take revenge, even if I live. It's just torture. The black-cloaked, golden-masked man's eyes were cold. Soon, his figure disappeared at the end of the western desert. In the depths of the western desert, there were many kingdoms built in the desert. Of course, there were also some oases in the desert. One of the larger oases was the royal city of Dashar Kingdom. A building with a yellow dome was built in the style of the Mani Temple. It was called the Godly Palace by the people of the royal city. From afar, it looked like a yellow dome building. However, when one walked in, one would realize that it was a group of palaces that occupied a large area. However, the Yellow Dome Godly Palace was the tallest. In front of the Godly Palace, there was a large pool. The precious water source in the desert was flowing here. Sovereign! Sovereign! In the Godly Palace, the young ladies who were dressed in the style of the Western region bowed respectfully. Pei San, who was wearing a loose yellow robe, walked into the Godly Palace with Meng Duan following him. At this moment, Sovereign, Sovereign! A person ran in from outside. Pei San looked at him. The Western region old man with naturally curled hair hastily said respectfully, Palace Master, the golden-masked guest who came to our place as a guest has left. However, before he left behind a letter. Pei San was moved. With a wave of his hand, the letter in the hands of the elder from the western region floated into Pei San's hand. He took out the letter and opened it. Sovereign Pei, I lied before. The stone tablet that recorded the secrets written by the omnipotent expert Li Tai-bai is missing. However, I found it. If you want this stone tablet, bring Ting Qingshan's head to the barbarian tribe temple and exchange it with me. When I see Ting Qingshan's head, I will offer it to you with both hands. 2 chapters completed. Brothers, do you have monthly tickets? I really want monthly tickets. Chapter 592. The Omnipotent Stone Tablet? A cold glint flashed across Pei San's eyes. It was as cold as the reflection of a blade. The elder from the western region and the 2 ladies from the western region who were standing at the entrance of the Godly Palace turned pale when they sensed Pei San's murderous aura. The two ladies even felt their legs turn to jelly. Seeing this, Meng Duan, who was confused, said softly, "Sovereign, let's enter the godly palace." "Okay." Pei San nodded. He waved his sleeve and entered the godly palace with Meng Duan. The second floor of the godly palace was spacious but empty. In a room with only a red carpet, Pei San sat cross-legged while Meng Duan knelt beside him. "This Jin Sheng is interesting." Pei San revealed a smile. "Sovereign, what happened to Jin Sheng?" Meng Duan asked. For the past 20 years, Meng Duan had always been by Pei San's side. Although she was not officially Pei San's woman, everyone in the Heavenly God Palace treated Meng Duan as Pei San's woman. After being together for so many years, Pei San was very close to this personal maid. "Duan, take a look." Pei San smiled and handed the letter over. Meng Duan took the letter and looked down. She was shocked. She knew what the omnipotent stone tablet was. Some time ago, a mysterious emptiness realm expert named Jin Sheng, who came from the barbarian tribe temple but always wore a golden mask, visited the Heavenly God Palace and lived here for a long time. At that time, Pei San only asked a few questions and confirmed that Jin Sheng was indeed an elder of the barbarian tribe temple. Therefore, he treated Jin Sheng politely. During their few interactions, Jin Sheng mentioned a legendary stone tablet. This stone tablet was left behind by the poetic sword god, Li Taibai, after he became an omnipotent expert. Li Taibai was good at calligraphy and poetry. After he became an omnipotent expert, how could the stone tablet he wrote be ordinary? Meng Duan knew that Pei San really wanted that stone tablet. Reading a godly-level secret tome is just a description of the moves and insights left behind by the predecessors. Pei San sighed. Li Taibai's calligraphy is the best in the world. His omnipotent Tao can be transmitted through his calligraphy. If I can have a look at the mysterious stone tablet he left behind. Pei San did not know that there was actually a stone wall called the Celestial Jade Annulus on the distant Bright Moon Island. "Palace Mistress, this Ting Qingshan, do you want it?" Meng Duan asked hesitantly. "Duan, what do you think?" Pei San said with a smile. Meng Duan shook her head and said, "Duan doesn't know. This Ting Qingshan has Little Blue's mother behind him. Killing him will be a big trouble." Pei San smiled but didn't say anything. The next morning, a high-pitched screech could be heard. In the ancient royal city of Daesar Kingdom, a gigantic godly hawk soared into the sky. After that, a person dressed in a light yellow long robe also soared into the sky. The two of them merged into one. Pei San smiled as he stepped on the godly Thunderbolt Hawk and screeched. The godly Thunderbolt Hawk understood the instructions and immediately turned into a bolt of lightning. Like a thunderbolt, it quickly disappeared into the southeast horizon. Xing-Yi sect, Great Yen Mountain. Now was the time for growth. The entire Xing-Yi sect was filled with boundless vitality. The sounds of hundreds of thousands of disciples practicing martial arts could be heard, shaking the entire Great Yen Mountain. Ha! Ha! Hongwu, who was wearing an undershirt, was practicing martial arts seriously on the training field of the East Flower Garden. His newlywed wife, Xiaoru, sat at the side and watched quietly. Occasionally, a sweet smile would appear on her face. "Brother Hongwu, rest for a while. You can practice later." Seeing her husband stop, Xiaoru carried a teacup to him. "It's okay." Hongwu drank a cup of tea and wiped the sweat off his forehead. He smiled and shook his head. "I have only practiced for 2 hours. I don't need to rest. Look at my father. He has been in the training room for 12 days. He is still practicing." Hearing this, Lei Xiaoru couldn't help but nod and look at the huge, custom-made training room in the distance. The pitch-black, completely sealed, huge training room was like a huge iron stove. Boom, boom, faintly, the sound of tremors that made people's hearts palpitate came from the training room. In the training room, the huge stone door was tightly shut. Although it was tightly shut, there was still a faint ray of light shining in. In the pitch-black training room, the faint ray of light made a blurry figure vaguely visible. Rumble, phew, sometimes there was a rumbling sound and sometimes there was the sound of a strong wind blowing. One could vaguely see a figure in trousers and a half-naked upper body practicing his fist technique. His fist technique was always the same as the 3 postures, but the sweat on his body had evaporated into mist and hovered around him. When the preparatory stance was executed, the airflow in the entire training room seemed to surge and gather towards Ting Qingshan. He stepped forward and punched. As soon as he took a step forward, the training room suddenly shook. When he punched, the entire space rumbled as if the thunder god was angry. Just like that, preparatory stance. Step forward and punch. Another preparatory stance. Step forward and punch. One was accumulating power, and the other was exploding. One was accumulating power, and the other was accumulating power. The other was exploding with power that could destroy the heavens and the earth. Vaguely, in the dark training room, Ting Qingshan, who was practicing martial arts, was like Pangu in the primal chaos, accumulating power and exploding power. Rumble, Ting Qingshan punched again. This was the 9th time he practiced the 3 postures since he started his secluded cultivation. He had practiced for more than 40 hours this time without stopping. In the darkness, when Ting Qingshan was practicing the preparatory stance, his eyes were as calm as the surface of a lake. However, when he stepped forward and punched, his eyes were as fierce as a wild beast that wanted to tear the heavens and the earth apart. Ting Qingshan's eyes, aura, and even his temperament were constantly changing as he practiced. Sometimes he would be full of life, and sometimes he would be full of killing intent. I can feel it. I want to break through from the initial attainment of the insightful emptiness realm to the culmination of the insightful emptiness realm. I must figure out the method of transforming the 5 elements into the Daos of life and death from the 3 postures. Ting Qingshan thought to himself, fortunately, I comprehended the Daos of life and death when I was in the emptiness realm. How can I transform my 5 elemental power of the world into the power of the world of life and death? Actually, when he was practicing martial arts, especially when he was practicing the 3 postures in secluded cultivation, Ting Qingshan was pleasantly surprised to find that, when he was practicing the 3 postures, the power of the 5 colors, which was originally flowing slowly like mercury in the world of his Naiwan palace, actually produced a wisp of smoke-like black gas. At this moment, it actually produced a wisp of smoke-like black gas. He could clearly feel that the world energy contained in this black gas was even more condensed than the power of the 5-colored world. At that moment, Ting Qingshan understood. The path he was going to take now was to transform the power of the 5 elemental power into the power of the world of life and death. The 3 postures are indeed the origin of the Xing-Yi martial arts, which the ancestors of the Xing-Yi martial arts have spent thousands of years to figure out. Ting Qingshan thought to himself, it is indeed mysterious and unfathomable. One more step and I will reach the culmination of the insightful emptiness realm. Ting Qingshan kept practicing and trying to understand the profoundness of the 3 postures. In both his previous and current lives, from when he first discovered the internal martial arts to when he reached the insightful emptiness realm, Ting Qingshan still felt that every time he practiced the 3 postures, he would gain something. Phew, the strong wind whistled and gathered between Ting Qingshan's hands like a whirlpool. Boom! Once again, the wind exploded violently. Ting Qingshan was like a demon. He kept practicing in the dark cultivation room, causing the entire cultivation room to tremble. Suddenly, the fist art stopped, and so did the sound of the strong wind and the rumbling. What is Pei San doing here? When Ting Qingshan used the power of the world, he found 2 emptiness realm experts. One of them was the godly Thunderbolt Hawk. The other one was the godly Thunderbolt Hawk. Ting Qingshan's power of the world was resisted. Before he could see the face of that person, his power of the world was blocked. The uniqueness of that person's power of the world allowed Ting Qingshan to instantly determine that this person was the sovereign of the heavenly god palace, Pei San. When he knew that Pei San was here, he stopped practicing. The sweat on Ting Qingshan's body instantly evaporated. Then, Ting Qingshan put on his clothes and the reincarnation armor. He held the reincarnation spear in his hand and opened the huge stone door of the cultivation room. Phew! The godly thunderbolt hawk swooped down from the sky and flew toward the East Flower Garden of the Xing-Yi sect. Who is this? Insightful emptiness realm. Pei San, who had a calm expression on his face, was shocked. There shouldn't be an insightful emptiness realm expert in the Xing-Yi sect. How could it be? Who is this person? His power of the world has obviously reached the insightful emptiness realm. It shouldn't be Ting Qingshan. Even if Ting Qingshan reached the insightful emptiness realm, he shouldn't have reached the insightful emptiness realm so quickly. When Ting Qingshan's son got married, Ting Qingshan didn't send invitations to the various sections. After all, compared to the establishment of a sect, there was no need for his son's marriage to attract the attention of many experts in the land of the 9 prefectures. In the past 20 years, Pei San had only been here once when the sect was established. He hadn't been here during the other times. Therefore, he didn't know that Ting Qingshan had reached the insightful emptiness realm. However, according to the information he received, Ting Qingshan was only an emptiness realm expert. Ting Qingshan had only reached the emptiness realm culmination not long ago. Screech, roar, 2 emptiness realm demonic beasts instantly gathered outside the cultivation room of the East Flower Garden. They were the 6-legged blade-like Qi, which was covered in scales and had blood-red eyes, and the undying phoenix, whose entire body seemed to be covered in flames. The 2 emptiness realm demonic beasts stared vigilantly at the godly thunderbolt hawk and Pei San, who had landed outside the cultivation room. Pei San's gaze was fixed on the stone door of the cultivation room. Rumble, the 2 huge stone doors slowly opened to both sides. In the darkness, a blurry figure wearing a white cloak walked out, holding a long spear with a red tassel in his hand. Father! Qingshan! Li Jun and Hongwu walked over. Ting Qingshan, is it really you? Pei San looked at Ting Qingshan and couldn't help but feel surprised. He had long regarded Ting Qingshan as a genius. However, Ting Qingshan had been stuck in the Tao of Wood elemental wood for a long time and hadn't made a breakthrough. This made Pei San shake his head inwardly. He thought that Ting Qingshan would encounter difficulties. It hasn't been long since Ting Qingshan reached the emptiness realm culmination. Pei San thought to himself. Sovereign Pei. Ting Qingshan cupped his hands and said with a smile, "May I know why Sovereign Pei is here?" Pei San smiled. Phew! Ting Qingshan's figure instantly disappeared. Chapter 1. Chapter 593. Ting Qingshan didn't have time to think about why Pei San suddenly attacked, because Pei San's hand had already slashed towards him. Clang! The reincarnation spear in Ting Qingshan's hand collided with Pei San's attack. He felt an invincible force passing through the spear shaft. Ting Qingshan couldn't help but fly backwards. However, Pei San continued to pounce towards him. Ting Qingshan's pupils shrank as he thought to himself, "Oh no!" The reincarnation spear stabbed into the corner of the cultivation room, creating a large hole in the wall. This allowed Ting Qingshan to flip and fly several zhang into the air. Whoosh! Pei San immediately chased after Ting Qingshan. "Father! Sovereign, Sovereign, what are you doing?" Li Jun raised her head and shouted anxiously. Hongwu, who was beside her, also looked worried. In midair, just as Ting Qingshan was about to ask, Pei San smiled ferociously. His eyes glowed with a crazed light like that of a wild beast. Roar! The roar of a huge bear sounded out of nowhere. At the same time, a faint shadow of a huge bear appeared on the surface of Pei San's body. Sovereign Pei. Ting Qingshan was about to speak when Pei San grinned and said, "Take my second move." Immediately after, Pei San raised his right palm high up like a clumsy bear raising its paw. However, Pei San, this huge bear, made Ting Qingshan feel a suffocating pressure. It was as if he was facing the honorable bear of Emperor Yu's hall. As for the huge, dark golden palm, it instantly caused the surrounding power of the heavens and earth to avoid it in fear. Just one palm. A seemingly clumsy palm. I want to see how strong you are, Ting Qingshan thought to himself. He clenched his teeth and spun the reincarnation spear in his hand. The 5 colored rays in his body rotated and merged with the reincarnation spear. For a moment, the reincarnation spear became dazzling. The 5 colored rays rotated continuously, and only a blue light shone at the tip of the spear. Instantly, the spear seemed to have transformed into a long spear amidst the surging wave. This was the first time Ting Qingshan had unleashed his ultimate skill after attaining the initial completion of the insightful Void Realm. The palm and the reincarnation spear collided. Pung! Ting Qingshan felt a suffocation in his chest, and his ears were ringing. It was as if thousands of lightning bolts were exploding in his ears. Pooh! Unable to restrain himself, Ting Qingshan spat out a mouthful of crimson blood, and then he was sent flying at an extremely fast speed. Li Jun and Hongwu, who were in the East Flower Garden, saw the 2 beams of light collide with each other. One of them was a colorful light. One was a grayish light. One collision. The powerful shockwave caused the entire space to churn like waves and spread in all directions. Even the power of the heavens and the earth in the land of the 9 prefectures became chaotic. The undying phoenix and the 6-legged blade-like Qi, who were already in mid-air, blocked the terrifying shockwave. Whoosh! Endless flames spread out from the immortal phoenix's wings, and a sea of fire appeared in the sky above the East Flower Garden. The undying phoenix blocked the terrifying shockwave. However, the shockwave spread in all directions. Although the shockwave blocked the East Flower Garden and the Xingyi sect, the shockwave still affected the Great Yen Mountain. For a moment, the towering trees and a large number of rocks were shattered into pieces, and the ground within a radius of 1 li seemed to have been shaved off. Father! Qingshan. Li Jun and Hongwu could clearly see the blood that was spurting out. Screech! After the undying phoenix blocked the shockwave, it screeched and flew rapidly toward Ting Qingshan and Pei San. Ever since Ting Qingshan attained the emptiness realm, he had encountered many opponents. However, none of them were much stronger than him. Therefore, Ting Qingshan had never felt that there was a huge gap between him and Pei San. Now, he finally understood why Pei San was able to easily strike the Hong Tian godly armor, which was second only to the paramount battle armor. Furthermore, Pei San had almost killed Yu Shijin. What a terrifying strength! So powerful! Why is there such a huge gap between us? Not only did Ting Qingshan spit out blood, but blood also seeped out of his ears. In the first move, Pei San had only reminded Ting Qingshan to prepare for battle. He had not used his true strength. In the second move, Pei San had used his true strength. Take my third move! A loud and clear voice rang in Ting Qingshan's mind. At this moment, Pei San's aura, which was filled with the aura of a wild beast, changed drastically. He looked like an enlightened monk as he walked toward Ting Qingshan with a smile on his face. His smile seemed to have a mesmerizing charm, causing people to be immersed in his smile. This time, he clasped his hands in front of his chest. He flipped his right palm, and a huge seal pressed down on Ting Qingshan. Bang! This palm contained a Zen mantra. When faced with this palm, Ting Qingshan felt as if the sky had suddenly darkened. The huge seal had completely blocked the sky. The unparalleled power that covered the sky and the earth caused Ting Qingshan's heart to tremble. Beside Ting Qingshan's ears, he could faintly hear the indistinct voices of countless monks. This palm. I can't take it. Ting Qingshan's body turned into a beam of colorful light and shot away. The undying phoenix glided over, and Ting Qingshan landed on the back of the undying phoenix. Pei San actually flipped his hand and withdrew his palm after he struck out with this enormous palm that seemed capable of destroying the heavens and the earth. This scene made Ting Qingshan's facial expression change drastically. This Pei San is more powerful than me. The more powerful a move was, the harder it was to withdraw it. For example, an ordinary person with the strength of a few hundred jin could instantly stop and withdraw his saber that weighed over 10 jin. However, if the person wielded a saber that weighed over 100 jin, he couldn't withdraw it even if he wanted to. Ting Qingshan's ultimate move, the 5-elemental toxic dragon drill, couldn't be withdrawn easily. However, Pei San was able to easily withdraw his palm. Pei San's palm strike just now was not his limit. Ting Qingshan came to his senses. Initially, he thought that since he had reached the insightful emptiness realm, even if he was no match for Pei San, he would still be able to tangle with him for a while. But who would have thought that he was no match for them at all? Complete insightful emptiness realm is different from initial insightful emptiness realm. He is indeed much stronger. After the momentary shock, Ting Qingshan was filled with endless motivation. No matter how powerful a powerhouse is, he or she has become stronger step by step from being weak. Pei San started cultivating many years earlier than me. Wait until I understand the 3 postures and reach the culmination of the insightful emptiness realm. At that time, I will definitely be able to compete with him. Ting Qingshan looked at Pei San and showed a rare smile. Ting Qingshan, whose mouth and ears were bloodshot, laughed. This scene caused Pei San to shake his head and laugh. This brat! Ting Qingshan, the undying phoenix, Pei San, the godly thunderbolt hawk, and the 6-legged blade-like Qi all returned to the East Flower Garden. Qingshan, are you all right? Li Jun asked worriedly. I'm fine. Ting Qingshan smiled. Although he was injured by the second move, his perfect body could easily control the injuries. Moreover, he recovered quickly under the nourishment of the power of his world. Sovereign Pei, why did you suddenly attack? Ting Qingshan frowned. The speed of an insightful emptiness realm expert was equal. He could dodge and escape, and Pei San wouldn't be able to catch up. If he wanted to kill Ting Qingshan, first, he had to lure the undying phoenix away. Or he could wait until Ting Qingshan and the undying phoenix were not together. First, he had to make sure that Ting Qingshan couldn't escape. Then, he could kill Ting Qingshan. Nothing, Pei San smiled as he looked at Ting Qingshan and said, I was just surprised to see that you reached the insightful emptiness realm so quickly. Moreover, you have reached the initial stage of the insightful emptiness realm. I was very surprised. Therefore, I decided to attack to see how strong you are. Pei San didn't come to kill Ting Qingshan. If he really wanted to kill Ting Qingshan, he wouldn't do it so carelessly. Ting Qingshan couldn't help but smile helplessly. However, this fight made Ting Qingshan realize that he shouldn't be arrogant and complacent. He still had a long way to go. Sovereign, why are you here? Ting Qingshan asked confusedly. Look. Pei San took out a piece of paper and threw it to Ting Qingshan. Ting Qingshan caught it and looked down. He was shocked. He knew that Pei San didn't come to kill him. After all, Pei San couldn't kill him if the undying phoenix was alone. Ting Qingshan looked at Ting Qingshan and asked, Sovereign Pei, who wants my head? Don't you know who has a grudge against you? Pei San asked. Ting Qingshan suddenly thought of something and said, Is it an emptiness realm expert named Jin Xing who wears a golden mask? Yes, it's him. Pei San nodded. Jin Xing? Li Jun's facial expression changed. She hastily walked over and asked, Qingshan? That person again? Ting Qingshan handed the piece of paper to Li Jun. If there was one person that Ting Qingshan and Li Jun wanted to kill the most, It would be this foreign elder of the barbarian tribe temple, who was suspected to be Gu Yong but had changed his name to Jin Sheng. This person is stirring up trouble again. A murderous look appeared on Li Jun's face. She hated this person to the core. He coveted her daughter and son, and he even wanted to destroy the Xing Yi sect. Now, he even attacked Ting Qingshan. Li Jun could not tolerate every move that Ting Qingshan made. "Sovereign Pei, why are you here?" Ting Qingshan asked. "I don't want to kill you." Pei San smiled and said, "However, I really want the stone tablet left behind by the omnipotent expert. This stone tablet is now in the hands of this person named Jin Sheng. He is now in the barbarian tribe temple, and wants to take the stone tablet of the omnipotent expert. It is very difficult. Ting Qingshan, you want to kill him as well. Do you understand what I mean?" Ting Qingshan smiled and said, "Sovereign Pei, when are you leaving?" Pei San's smile became even brighter as he said, "There is no time to lose. It is best to leave now." "Alright. Last time I went to the barbarian tribe temple, I didn't find that guy. Since he's there right now, I'll make a trip there. I want to see exactly what's underneath that mask of his." The murderous intent in Ting Qingshan's heart continued to rise. The mysterious man with the golden mask was Ting Qingshan's sore spot. If he did not get rid of that man, he would not feel at ease. However, the barbarian tribe temple was obviously very powerful. This time, since Pei San wanted to take the stone tablet of the omnipotent expert, Ting Qingshan naturally did not mind going along with him. "Little Jun, I will go to the barbarian tribe temple and settle this matter," Ting Qingshan turned and said. "Okay. Be careful," Li Jun hastily reminded. Ting Qingshan smiled and called the undying phoenix. Whoosh, whoosh. Ting Qingshan and Pei San leaped onto the undying phoenix and the godly thunderbolt hawk respectively. Then, they transformed into a fiery light and a lightning light and disappeared into the southern horizon. Chapter 2. Chapter 594. In the depths of the wildlands, in the heart of the forest where the barbarian giant tribe, lived, there was an ancient, dark red building. This was the holy land of the barbarian tribe, the divine temple. In the middle of the vast empty space of the temple, there was a huge cauldron. This was one of the 9 cauldrons forged by Emperor Yu. The sunlight shone through the dense leaves of the towering tree, and only a small amount of light shone down. Under the cover of the trees in the forest, the temple appeared very quiet. Every 7 days there would be a day of baptism in the temple. On the day of the baptism, all the newborn babies in the barbarian tribe would be sent to be baptized on that day. Only a baby who had been baptized was a true barbarian. Elder, the bald giant, who was 8 feet tall, was walking in the temple. All the barbarians who saw him would respectfully salute him. Their eyes were filled with an unconcealable passion. Yes. The bald demon godlike figure walked toward the 9-continent cauldron. Suddenly, his expression changed. Roar! The bald giant immediately let out a deep roar. Although the roar was deep, it was extremely resounding. It sounded like muffled thunder in the sky, and it could be heard hundreds of kilometers away. In the air in front of the temple, the undying phoenix, which was engulfed in flames, and the godly thunderbolt hawk, which had electric arcs flowing around it, hovered in the sky. Ting Qingshan and Pei San lowered their heads and looked down. What a loud voice! Ting Qingshan heard the bald giant roar. Did you hear that? Pei San smiled and said, That baldy is summoning an emptiness realm demonic beast. When they sensed that we were at the insightful emptiness realm, they became afraid. The 2 insightful emptiness realm experts had joined forces. Even the most ancient barbarian tribe temple was terrified. Rays of light flashed and the gigantic figure of the emptiness realm demonic beast soared into the sky. The emptiness realm expert and the emptiness realm demonic beast of the barbarian tribe temple had finally appeared. The most eye-catching thing was naturally the giant black centipede with a shiny body, which was spiraling in the air. The 3 barbarian elders stood on the back of the centipede. "It's you!" The bald giant was shocked. "Insightful emptiness realm?" The silver-haired old man and the skinny old man covered in wrinkles looked at Ting Qingshan in shock. Just last year, Ting Qingshan came to the barbarian tribe temple. At that time, Ting Qingshan was only at emptiness realm culmination. This year, he had actually reached the insightful emptiness realm. It was extremely difficult to reach the insightful emptiness realm after attaining emptiness realm culmination. "Yes, it's me. I'm here again." Ting Qingshan smiled. At the same time, he turned and asked Pei San, "Sovereign Pei, have you found Jin Xing?" "Sovereign Ting, Jin Xing is down there," Pei San said with a smile. Ting Qingshan's power of the world spread out and swept through the barbarian tribe temple below. He immediately found the mysterious black-robed man wearing a golden mask. The golden-masked man leaped onto the back of the black bird demonic beast. In the blink of an eye, he flew to the side of the 3 elders of the barbarian tribe temple. "Great Elder!" The golden-masked man nodded slightly to the other 3. Swoosh! A huge purple figure appeared beside the black centipede. It was the purple-haired godly ape that was 10 zhang tall. The purple-haired godly ape glanced at Ting Qingshan and Pei San. The hair on its head stood up. It bared its teeth and let out a hissing sound. It seemed like it was trying to intimidate Ting Qingshan and Pei San. The purple-haired godly ape also realized that Ting Qingshan and Pei San were not easy to deal with. Qingshan, among the 3 demonic beasts, the purple-haired godly ape is the hardest to deal with, Pei San said with the use of the sound transmission technique. "Yes, there is also a black demonic dragon. However, it is not here today." As Ting Qingshan spoke, his eyes fell on the golden-masked man. He studied the man carefully, but he could not identify the man. Moreover, the man was surrounded by the power of the heavens and earth, which prevented Ting Qingshan from looking deeper. Ting Qingshan could not identify the man just by sensing his aura. "Elders, I was the one who caused this calamity. This man, who was wearing a white robe and holding a long spear, is called Ting Qingshan. He took the opportunity when I left my hometown and came to the boorish desolate. He massacred my family. This kind of hatred is absolutely irreconcilable. However, I am ashamed to have disturbed the godly temple." The golden-masked man bowed solemnly. Then, he straightened his body and said, "This Ting Qingshan is very powerful. I have already given up on revenge, and returned to the godly temple to meditate. However, I did not expect that they would still come after me. Since I'm the one who caused this disaster, let me bear it. I have no other request. I only hope that the 3 elders can take care of the 13 children that I adopted." The golden-masked man bowed again. Whoosh! Then, he dashed toward Ting Qingshan. "Elder Jin." A strong hand suddenly blocked the golden-masked man. The bald man glared at the golden-masked man and shouted, "Elder Jin, who do you think the barbarian tribe is? Over the past 10 years, we have seen how much you have done for the barbarian tribe. Elder Jin, you have personally taken care of the 13 children. These 2 people will not hurt you in the godly temple of the barbarian tribe. Elder Jin, please step back," the silver-haired barbarian elder said. "Leave it to us." The skinny elder looked at Ting Qingshan and Pei San, who were standing on the backs of the undying phoenix and the godly thunderbolt hawk. "Ting Qingshan, last time you came to the godly temple of the barbarian tribe, we let you go. We let you go, and now Elder Jin has given up on revenge. Why are you still pestering us? Leave quickly and let this matter rest. Otherwise, do you know who this Jin Xing is?" Ting Qingshan shouted coldly. What was he doing in the land of the 9 prefectures before he came to the godly temple? What did he do after he left the godly temple? Do you know? You have no idea. The three elders of the godly temple frowned slightly. Just because of what he said, you believe him so much? Ting Qingshan said, Elders of the godly temple, I, Ting Qingshan, admire the barbarian tribe very much. You were able to travel 10,000 li through the desolate land and settle down here. However, today, the life of this guy named Jin Xing, whose real name is a mysterious person who can't be seen, is mine. Suddenly, Ting Qingshan frowned slightly. A vigorous aura suddenly surged up from the ground, and then it spiraled in the air. The dragon's scales on its body shone with a strange luster under the illumination of the light. The black demonic dragon glanced at Ting Qingshan and Pei San with its huge eyes. Pei San's facial expression changed slightly as he said with the use of the sound transmission technique, I didn't expect this demonic dragon to be here. This is troublesome. Troublesome? Ting Qingshan glanced at Pei San. Yes, Ting Qingshan, I will stop this demonic dragon later. However, you will have to deal with the other demonic beast. Pei San said with the use of the sound transmission technique, use the undying phoenix's speed to capture Elder Jin Xing as soon as possible. Ting Qingshan looked at Pei San speechlessly. Pei San will stop the black demonic dragon and I will deal with the rest? According to the demonic dragon, Violet Rain, the purple-haired godly ape's strength was very close to that of the black demonic dragon. Roar, the black demonic dragon let out a deep roar. Roar, the purple-haired godly ape also let out a threatening sound. The skinny elder's aura suddenly became stronger as he said with a loud voice, the godly dragon and the godly ape told you to leave quickly. Ting Qingshan, I think you should leave quickly. The bald barbarian tribe giant and the silver-haired barbarian tribe elder were also very confident. They never doubted the strength of the black demonic dragon and the purple-haired godly ape. Ting Qingshan and Pei San looked at each other. In the sky above the forest, Ting Qingshan and Pei San were facing off against the barbarian tribe temple. Facing the threat of the godly dragon and the godly ape, Ting Qingshan held the reincarnation spear and pointed it at the skinny elder. His loud voice echoed in the sky above the forest, Elders of the barbarian tribe temple, I respect the barbarian tribe temple. However, you are so stupid to listen to this despicable person. I have no choice. Now I will give you two choices. Hand over Jin Xing. Or let's have a bloody battle. The faces of the three barbarian tribe temple elders darkened. Roar, the black demonic dragon raised its head high and stared at Ting Qingshan and Pei San coldly. Haha, big earthworm, be careful. I will tear you in half. Pei San pointed at the black demonic dragon and laughed. The three barbarian tribe temple elders were furious. The barbarian tribe temple and the godly beast of the barbarian tribe cannot be insulted. Anyone who insults the godly dragon must die. The bald barbarian tribe giant roared angrily. I have insulted it. Come and kill me. Pei San smiled provocatively. You are courting death. The faces of the three barbarian tribe temple elders darkened. Courting death? Then let's see who is stronger. A cold glint flashed in Ting Qingshan's eyes and he suddenly let out a cry. The undying phoenix flapped its wings and carried Ting Qingshan on its back as it streaked across the sky like a beam of light. In an instant, it had already rushed into the camp of the barbarian tribe temple. Pei San laughed and said, Wait for me. The godly thunderbolt hawk also carried Pei San and rushed into the barbarian tribe temple's camp. Suddenly, the sky was in chaos. Phew, phew. The moment the undying phoenix rushed over, it opened its mouth and spat out a monstrous flame. A large amount of purple gold flame spread out and the entire sky instantly turned into a sea of fire. At the same time, a purple gold flame flew towards the black-cloaked, golden-masked man. Whoosh! The giant black centipede easily resisted the monstrous flame. At the same time, the giant centipede swung its tail and stabbed towards Ting Qingshan. Ting Qingshan's eyes were as sharp as knives. Get lost! Ting Qingshan raised the reincarnation spear with both of his hands and used the mountain splitting technique. The reincarnation spear smashed the giant black centipede's tail, causing the entire body of the centipede to twitch. A stream of green blood seeped out from the cracks of its scales. The giant black centipede immediately slithered away. An insightful emptiness realm expert was not someone that it, who was slightly stronger than the black crow, could deal with. Bang! Not far away, Pei San and the purple-haired godly ape's fist collided with each other. A small fist and a big fist. A frontal attack. The violent shockwave caused the surrounding forest to turn into dust. Pei San was also sent flying. At this moment, a dragon roar was heard and the black demonic dragon rushed towards Pei San. When the purple-haired godly ape saw this, it took a step in the air and moved 100 zhang away, arriving in front of Ting Qingshan. Hee, a roar was heard. The purple-haired godly ape lifted its foot, which was even bigger than Ting Qingshan's body, and stomped down. End of Chapter 3. Continue writing Chapter 4. Chapter 595. Let's see if your leg is harder or if the tip of my reincarnation spear is sharper. Ting Qingshan shrank his body and grabbed the reincarnation spear with both hands, pointing the spear upwards. Ting Qingshan didn't dodge at all. He allowed the huge foot to descend and step on the tip of the reincarnation spear. Chi! The reincarnation spear only left a white mark on the thick skin of the huge foot. Ting Qingshan's entire body was pushed down at an extremely fast speed. After breaking 2 huge trees, the trees collapsed. Ting Qingshan took 9 heavy steps in the forest below before he could completely dissipate the force of the impact. Haha! Ting Qingshan, don't compete with this big guy in brute force. I can't even win against him in a competition of brute force. Why are you still doing this? Pei San's laughter stopped abruptly. In midair, the black demonic dragon's claw sent Pei San flying backward. How dare you laugh at me? However, this big ape's strength is really great. Ting Qingshan knew that the purple-haired godly ape was an extremely talented demonic beast. When it was at the Golden Dan innate realm, it already possessed great strength. Once it broke through to the emptiness realm, its body would undergo a qualitative transformation, and its physical strength would become even more astonishing. For example, the 6-legged blade-like Qi, which had just reached the emptiness realm, could already compete with the blind swordmaster, who had reached the emptiness realm culmination. Of course, it was at a disadvantage. However, it was still much stronger than an emptiness realm expert. Moreover, this big ape was as talented as the 6-legged blade-like Qi. In addition, it had already reached the emptiness realm culmination. It was strong enough to fight against an insightful emptiness realm expert. Hee, the purple-haired godly ape emitted a strange sound. It lowered its body and swung its thick and powerful right arm. It was as if a huge pillar was swung at it. Poochie! Ting Qingshan drilled into the soil. The purple-haired godly ape turned its right arm and slammed the ground with its huge hairy palm. Rumble! The ground suddenly sank by over 100 feet, and the powerful vibrations contained within it even shattered the rocks beneath the palm into dust. Ting Qingshan, who was also underground, felt his body go numb. I don't believe that I can't defeat this big ape. His body is big, I am small. I'm not as fast as him, but he can't surpass me in terms of agility in a small area. While Ting Qingshan was in trouble, the Undying Phoenix and the Godly Thunderbolt Hawk were also in trouble. Ho-hoo, the flames of the Undying Phoenix posed a great threat to human emptiness realm culmination experts. However, it was different for emptiness realm culmination demonic beasts. Demonic beasts were powerful in their bodies, which were much stronger than humans of the same level. Even the perfect body of an insightful emptiness realm expert was far inferior to the body of an emptiness realm demonic beast. His body's defense was strong, and he could control 100% of the power of heaven and earth. It was not difficult to resist the undying phoenix that had just entered the emptiness realm. The two emptiness realm culmination demonic beasts, the black crow and the giant centipede, were not afraid of the flames of the undying phoenix. Pa! Pa! The thunderbolts of the godly thunderbolt hawk could not harm these two emptiness realm culmination demonic beasts. It could not be helped. The godly thunderbolt hawk and the undying phoenix were not old. They had just entered the emptiness realm not long ago. As for the black crow and the black centipede, they were demonic beasts that had lived for thousands of years. You want to kill me? The golden-masked man, who was protected by the black crow and the black centipede, sneered. These two demonic beasts have just entered the emptiness realm. They want to compete with two emptiness realm culmination demonic beasts? The golden-masked man suddenly saw a beam of light dashing toward him from afar. It was one of the three elders who had escaped into the barbarian tribe temple. The skinny elder was now wearing a blood-red armor and a blood-red helmet. The moment the armor appeared, the golden-masked man trembled. Whoosh! The great elder flew toward the undying phoenix and said with the use of the sound transmission technique, "Elder Jean, don't worry. Leave this troublesome undying phoenix to me." The golden-masked man cursed inwardly, "Leave it to you? If I had this powerful armor, I would dare to go." That's right. The great elder of the barbarian tribe was wearing the most valuable treasure of the barbarian tribe temple, the slaughter armor. In the land of the 9 prefectures, there were only 4 omnipotent experts. Therefore, there were at most 4 sets of omnipotent armor. The other set was in Emperor Yu's hall. However, when Ting Qingshan fought his way to Emperor Yu's hall, the members of Emperor Yu's hall did not wear the omnipotent godly armor. Ting Qingshan had gone to Emperor Yu's hall to see the omnipotent godly armor. However, he did not see it. Ting Qingshan guessed that the omnipotent armor was most likely guarded by the Honorable Bear. The second set of omnipotent armor was naturally in the Ying family. The third set of omnipotent armor was undoubtedly in the Mani temple. As for whether the legendary poetic sword god, Li Taibai, had left behind the omnipotent armor was a secret. However, only a few people in the land of the 9 prefectures knew about this secret. In the past, Li Taibai did not have any disciples. However, when he reached the omnipotent realm, he gave his absolute art and the omnipotent armor to the barbarian tribe temple. The reason why the elders of the barbarian tribe temple could reach emptiness realm culmination so quickly was because of Li Taibai's absolute art, Green Lotus Sword Song. Although Li Taibai was a free and unfettered person, however, in the past, Li Taibai also died because of a disagreement. Killing a person every 10 steps. Invincible for 1,000 miles. This was what Li Taibai wrote back then. Killing people while drinking. Wasn't it satisfying? His battle armor had absorbed a lot of fresh blood, and he named it the Slaughter Battle Armor. It was passed down in the barbarian tribe temple. The mysterious golden-masked man told Pei San that there was a stone tablet in the barbarian tribe temple. It was written by the poetic sword god, Li Taibai, after he reached the omnipotent realm. Pei San did not doubt this piece of information. This was because he knew that the barbarian tribe temple was most likely to have Li Taibai's relic. Phew! Seeing the elder of the barbarian tribe temple charging over, the undying phoenix spat out flames excitedly. Her flames were the most powerful against human emptiness realm expert. So what if he wore armor? There were gaps in the armor, and the flames could still burn the armor. Chi-Chi, under the burning flames, the elder of the barbarian tribe temple, was not harmed at all. The omnipotent armor had reached the perfect form of armor. It had spirituality. Ordinary godly armors could automatically fit the size of the body. When the omnipotent armor was worn, there were no gaps at all. Even the mask would be protected by a hazy layer of light after the power of the heavens and earth was infused into it. This was the omnipotent armor. Rumble! Ting Qingshan was sent flying by the purple-haired godly ape. He spat out a mouthful of blood. This godly ape is really strong. As Ting Qingshan was sent flying, he noticed Little Blue's embarrassed state. The godly armor worn by the elder of the barbarian tribe temple seems to be stronger than the Hong Tian godly armor. Ting Qingshan scanned the armor with the power of the five elemental world. He immediately discovered the uniqueness of the armor worn by the elder of the barbarian tribe temple. This is the armor that can truly protect the body. However, the Hong Tian godly armor is already the best among the godly armors. It is second only to the omnipotent godly armor. This armor is even better than the Hong Tian godly armor. Could it be? Just as Ting Qingshan was in shock, rumble, a huge palm suddenly grabbed toward him. Big Ape. Ting Qingshan originally wanted to tangle with the purple-haired godly ape so that Little Blue could catch Elder Jin Xing. However, Little Blue's failure and the arrogance of the purple-haired godly ape made Ting Qingshan furious. Hee. The purple-haired godly ape opened its mouth and let out a fierce roar. It rushed over with large strides and waved its huge arms that reached its knees. It was either smashing, slashing, or grabbing. Compared to the Tenjiang, 25 meters, tall godly ape, Ting Qingshan was indeed a small dot. However, sometimes a large body could be troublesome. Pooh! Ting Qingshan suddenly moved his body and narrowly dodged the purple-haired godly ape's claw. He then rushed to the side of the purple-haired godly ape. Whoosh! Whoosh! Ting Qingshan quickly scuttled onto the purple-haired godly ape's back. The purple-haired godly ape angrily moved over 100 zhang with a swift move. At the same time, it swung its sharp claws to grab Ting Qingshan's back. So big, but so agile. Ting Qingshan narrowly dodged the claw. However, just as he dodged the claw in midair, another claw came. Not good. Previously, Ting Qingshan was attacked by 2 palms consecutively. In the end, he couldn't dodge and was sent flying. After all, no matter how fast he was, he couldn't be compared to the sharp claws. Phew! Phew! The 2 furry palms on the left and right smashed toward Ting Qingshan alternately. Every time they smashed, the sharp claws hidden in the palms would grab. The purple-haired godly ape also realized that, with the help of the reincarnation spear, it could only injure this human. It was impossible to kill him. It could only use its sharp claws to tear him in half. Whoosh! Ting Qingshan fell at an extremely fast speed. At the same time, he tried his best to dodge the huge palms. After Ting Qingshan narrowly dodged another palm, he didn't see the second one coming. Rumble, the eyes of the purple-haired godly ape turned red. Its originally scary palms glowed with purple light and started to expand. The fist that was originally like a small hill instantly expanded to twice its original size. The huge furry right fist emitted a purple light. It was like a purple lightning godly hammer. With a rumbling sound, it smashed toward Ting Qingshan. So fast! Ting Qingshan, who had already fallen into the ground, had an unprecedentedly serious expression on his face. The speed of this fist was so fast that an insightful emptiness realm expert like him wouldn't be able to dodge it. Moreover, this fist was so big that Ting Qingshan wouldn't be able to dodge it at all. He only had one choice: to fight it head-on. Ting Qingshan's eyes were as sharp as a knife. He knew that if he couldn't resist it, even if he didn't die, he would be severely injured or crippled. I can't care so much. Ting Qingshan immediately used the small amount of black fog that was produced in his Naiwan palace after he had been practicing the 3 postures in seclusion for a long time. At this moment of life and death, Ting Qingshan focused his attention to an unprecedented level. The remaining black power that could destroy the world in his Naiwan palace surged into the reincarnation spear. At this moment, many axe techniques of the 36 splitting mountain forms appeared in Ting Qingshan's mind. The line of words on the celestial jade annulus also appeared in his mind. Then, everything disappeared. In Ting Qingshan's mind, there was only the scene of him practicing the 3 postures in the dark cultivation room. One punch, one punch, one punch, punch! Ting Qingshan felt as if he had practiced the 3 postures continuously for more than 40 hours. At this moment of life and death, he faced the huge fist that could destroy the world. Attack! Ting Qingshan, who was underground, closed his eyes. He ignored the sand and stones that were pressing towards him and directly thrust his spear. Boom! Pei San, who was far away, saw that the situation was bad. His facial expression changed. His flying speed made it impossible for him to save Ting Qingshan. Moreover, this happened too suddenly. Even the undying phoenix, Little Blue, couldn't react in time. The mysterious golden-masked man, who was protected by the black crow and the black centipede, trembled in excitement. He unconsciously said, "Kill him, kill him!" His eyes were ferocious and crazy like never before. For a moment, all his attention was focused on the terrifying fist of the purple-haired godly ape. Boom! A terrifying explosion that shook the earth resounded. Roar! The purple-haired godly ape let out a painful roar. As if tearing the heavens and the earth apart, a black flowing light suddenly pierced through the ground. The purple-haired godly ape's huge right claw had already shrunk. At the same time, a bloody hole appeared on the back of his furry hand. Blood had already dyed his palm red. Phew! A figure broke through the ground. His body was tattered. His white robe had long been torn, and only the dark green reincarnation armor was left. His body was also covered in blood. However, at this moment, his entire body was surrounded by a black stream of air. The tip of the reincarnation spear was also stained with blood. "Big Ape, come again!" A loud laughter came from the black stream of air. End of the 4th chapter, completed. Asking for tickets. Chapter 596. What? The mysterious man with the golden mask, who was originally trembling in excitement, had a look of disbelief in his eyes. He had set up many methods to deal with Ting Qingshan. His last move had 2 killer moves. The first move was to let Pei San kill him. The mysterious man with the golden mask thought that Pei San would not be able to take the omnipotent stone tablet by force since he knew the barbarian tribe temple's strength. If Pei San really wanted the omnipotent stone tablet, there was a high chance that he would kill Ting Qingshan. The second move was to let Pei San care about the undying phoenix behind Ting Qingshan and give up on killing him. Then, he would probably tell Ting Qingshan about this and do Ting Qingshan a favor. This way, Ting Qingshan would know that Jin Xing was at the barbarian tribe temple. Jin Xing used himself as bait. He thought that if Ting Qingshan came to kill him, he would be attacked by the barbarian tribe temple. He wanted to kill Ting Qingshan through the hands of the barbarian tribe temple. He, Jin Xing, had nowhere else to go. He could not kill Ting Qingshan by himself. This was his last option. It was a dead end, but he could still find a way out. He was gambling. Just now, he had almost succeeded. Why is he not dead? Why is he not dead? The man with the golden mask and black robe roared in his heart. He stared at Ting Qingshan, who was surrounded by black air currents. What? He injured the godly ape? The great elder of the barbarian tribe, who was wearing the omnipotent godly armor, and the other 2 elders in the distance looked at the blood on the purple-haired godly ape's fist in shock. Before this, Ting Qingshan was obviously at a disadvantage against the godly ape. He could only run away and get slapped away. Why did such a thing happen in the blink of an eye when he was so close to winning? He broke through. Pei San smiled when he saw this. It's good that he broke through. It's getting more and more interesting. Hee. The 10 tall purple-haired godly ape stared at Ting Qingshan with a pair of ferocious eyes. From time to time, it would let out a strange sound. However, it was clearly careful when dealing with Ting Qingshan. It did not dare to be as arrogant as it was before. Only those who were stronger than their opponents would dare to be so arrogant. Ting Qingshan held the reincarnation spear in his hand and floated in midair. There was a hint of joy in his eyes. What a blessing in disguise! When I was in seclusion, I practiced the 3 postures over and over again. I don't know how many times I practiced it. However, only occasionally would it produce a trace of world-destroying power. That's because I don't understand it at all. That's why I practiced so many times and got lucky once in a while. Ting Qingshan also understood that his practice of punching could produce a tiny trace of world-destroying power. This represents, it was obvious that Ting Qingshan was more skilled in the destruction Tao than the life Tao. This was not strange. When he was in the emptiness realm, he first comprehended the destruction Tao. When he reached the emptiness realm culmination, he comprehended the life Tao. Chi-Chi, at this moment, in the world of Ting Qingshan's Naiwan Palace, the originally vast amount of mercury-like 5-colored power was rapidly changing at this time. Wisps of black mist were rapidly produced. For a time, the foundation of the entire Mud Pill Palace world was the endless, ocean-like mercury-like 5-colored power. Black mist floated above the ocean, and the black mist was constantly being produced. Moreover, the Naiwan Palace originally had the appearance of a 5-colored egg. But now, black marks were gradually appearing on the shell of this egg. The power of the 5-elemental world has transformed into the power of the world of life and death. Now I have already succeeded halfway. Ting Qingshan was overjoyed. As long as he took one more step, once he produced the power of the world of life, he would have reached the insightful emptiness realm culmination. At that level, he would be on par with Pei San. Hee. The purple-haired godly ape roared and swung its thick and long left arm toward Ting Qingshan. As it swung, over 10 trees were smashed. These thick and strong trees were like tofu to the purple-haired godly ape. They were smashed upon contact. At the same time, sharp claws emerged from its hairy palms. Chi-Chi, the sharp claws sliced through the air and instantly arrived in front of Ting Qingshan. Big Ape, are you looking for a fight? Ting Qingshan roared. Ting Qingshan held a long spear in his hand. The long spear dashed out like a swimming dragon and collided with the sharp claws 3 times in a row. When the tip of the spear and the claws collided, sparks of lightning appeared. Therefore, a violent airflow was produced. The trees and rocks in the surroundings shook like water and turned into powder. Whoosh! After the 3rd collision, Ting Qingshan borrowed the force and dashed towards the ground. At the same time, he approached the purple-haired godly ape. Hee. The purple-haired godly ape revealed an ominous glint. It bared its teeth and waved its sharp claws. Clang! After blocking the attack again, Ting Qingshan twisted his body like a loach and dashed to the side of the purple-haired godly ape. The purple-haired godly ape wanted to dodge and increase the distance between it and Ting Qingshan. For a colossal being, once a tiny dot got close to it, then it would be at a great disadvantage if they fought. Big Ape, you're the one who asked for it. Ting Qingshan moved his reincarnation spear. The people watching from afar only saw 2 streaks of black flowing light flash past. Poochie! Poochie! Bloody holes appeared on the big ape's calf and the left forearm that it swung towards Ting Qingshan. Blood flowed out continuously. The furious purple-haired godly ape disregarded its injuries and waved its arms crazily towards Ting Qingshan. Its sharp claws were extremely sharp, and it dared to fight against Ting Qingshan's reincarnation spear. Unfortunately, Ting Qingshan's body was small and too nimble. One big and one small were fighting in the forest. Everywhere they passed, rocks would collapse and trees would turn into powder. Sometimes, the purple-haired godly ape would roar angrily, and sometimes, Ting Qingshan would roar angrily as well. The man and the emptiness realm demonic beast fought crazily. The golden-masked man clenched his fists and moved his lips. Kill him! In the time of a few breaths, the man and the demonic beast separated. Hee roar! The purple-haired godly ape dodged far away and beat its chest angrily as it glared at Ting Qingshan. At this moment, the purple-haired godly ape's body was full of injuries. It was originally a purple-haired godly ape, but now it could be called a red-purple godly ape. However, the penetrating power of Ting Qingshan's spear was extremely strong, and the purple-haired godly ape was now in a very difficult situation. "Big Ape, do you still want to fight?" The white robe on Ting Qingshan's body had disappeared, and only the reincarnation godly armor was left. He glared at the purple-haired godly ape as if he had gone crazy. Although the purple-haired godly ape was angry, it looked at Ting Qingshan with a hint of fear. The purple-haired godly ape finally realized the biggest difference between an emptiness realm culmination demonic beast and an insightful emptiness realm human. Weapons. Armor. The purple-haired godly ape was able to exchange blows with Pei San because Pei San was barehanded. However, Ting Qingshan was using the reincarnation spear. After being refined by the power of the world, the current reincarnation spear was much harder and sharper than before. The power of the attack was concentrated at the tip of the spear. Furthermore, Ting Qingshan was half a step into the insightful emptiness realm. The power of this spear was not something that the purple-haired godly ape's fur could withstand. It could only block it with its sharp claws. Unfortunately, its body was too big, and it did not have any armor to protect it. However, Ting Qingshan used the power of the world to refine the reincarnation godly armor. Hee. The purple-haired godly ape grinned at Ting Qingshan and took a step back. It was obvious that it did not want to continue fighting with Ting Qingshan. Ting Qingshan then revealed a smile and turned to look at Pei San in the distance. In the sky above the forest, Pei San, who was wearing a light yellow robe, was fighting with the black demonic dragon. He seemed to be in a sorry state, and his clothes were somewhat tattered. Seeing that Ting Qingshan had won, Pei San could not help but laugh loudly. "Haha, Qingshan, you have really profited from a disaster this time. I have been fighting with this demonic dragon, but I have not made a single breakthrough. I am at a disadvantage fighting with my bare hands." As soon as he finished speaking, almost like a phantom, Pei San's hands suddenly changed color and became white. Occasionally, golden light would flash continuously. Gloves. Ting Qingshan was surprised. Pei San's weapon was actually a pair of gloves that had been specially refined. With this pair of boxing gloves on, Pei San's entire aura instantly changed. In a trance, a huge shadow of a monster with a dragon's head, a tortoise's body, and a snake's tail appeared around his body. His eyes faintly turned blood-red. After letting out a strange roar, Pei San dashed towards the black demonic dragon. Roar! The black demonic dragon was also angry. It was a real demonic beast. How could it be defeated by a human who cultivated the Tao of beasts? Pei San, who had a huge shadow of a monster, started fighting with the black demonic dragon in the air. For a moment, the color of the sky changed, and the forest cracked. Yaya, a strange and resounding roar suddenly rang out. Bang! After a loud noise that shook the heavens and the earth, the black demonic dragon was actually thrown into the air. Golden dragon blood splattered in the air. Silence. Everyone was silent. Pei San, who was floating in the air, had golden blood stains on his gloves. Among the demonic beasts in the world, you are only the third or fourth, Pei San said indifferently as he looked at the black demonic dragon in the distance. Seeing this, Ting Qingshan suddenly came to a realization. Before Pei San came to the Xingyi sect, he had probably already made up his mind to attack the barbarian tribe temple. At that time, Pei San did not even know that he had also reached the insightful emptiness realm. Then, at that time, Pei San was already confident. He had single-handedly snatched the omnipotent stone tablet from the barbarian tribe temple. No wonder he dared to attack the Mani temple with his army. Pei San is really powerful. Ting Qingshan was shocked. When Pei San fought with Qin Shiqi of the Ying family, He didn't even wear these gloves. In the sky above the forest of the barbarian tribe, the people of the barbarian tribe temple were speechless. They didn't expect that the most powerful godly ape and the godly dragon would be defeated. How could this happen? The golden-masked man, who was under the protection of the great elder of the barbarian tribe, the black crow, and the other demonic beasts, was dumbfounded. It's been so many years. How could this happen? Ting Qingshan has only cultivated for so many years. How could this happen? Great Elder! The golden-masked man suddenly shouted. Elder Jean. The great elder, who was wearing the slaughter armor, turned his head and saw the golden-masked man land on the back of the black crow. The golden-masked man bowed to the great elder of the barbarian tribe temple. Then, he looked at Ting Qingshan in the distance and said in a deep voice, Ting Qingshan, do you want to kill me? Do you want to know who I am? Unfortunately, you can't do it. Ting Qingshan, who was covered in blood, flew over with the reincarnation spear in his hand. He said coldly, do you think you can escape? The great elder of the barbarian tribe wanted to move, but he didn't dare to. No one dared to stop him. Ha ha! The golden-masked man raised his head and let out a shrill roar. Then, he waved his hand and slammed it on his forehead. The powerful force penetrated his Niwen palace. A trace of blood flowed out from the corner of the golden-masked man's mouth. Ting Qingshan, who was flying over, watched this scene in astonishment. He saw the golden-masked man fall down powerlessly from the back of the black bird demonic beast. For a moment Pei San, the members of the barbarian tribe temple, the undying phoenix, and the godly thunderbolt hawk all stared at the golden-masked man who fell from the sky. Chapter 1. Chapter 597. The black-robed, golden-masked man continued to fall, his eyes filled with madness. However, deep within that madness there was also a trace of sadness. Ever since he was young, he had been a genius in the sect. In the past, he and Zhuge Yuanhong were known as the two heavens favorites of Yangzhou. Both of them were ranked in the top 10 of the heavenly ranking at the age of 50. Zhuge Yuanhong was the sovereign of the Guiyuan sect, but he was also the island lord of Qinghu Island, one of the 8 supreme sects. He was one of the most powerful figures in the land of the 9 prefectures. Everything had changed. Ever since the birth of a genius named Ting Qingshan, everything had changed. His foolish son's actions had caused Ting Qingshan and Qinghu Island to become enemies. In the battle of the Great Yen Mountain, Qinghu Island had suffered a great loss. He had even abdicated in dejection and passed the position of the island lord to his junior martial brother. Being an ordinary boatman was very shameful for a heaven list ranker. However, later on, he got over it and took off the human skin mask. He rowed the boat with his real face and sent the ordinary disciples of Qinghu Island back and forth on the green lake. The land of the 9 prefectures was abuzz with discussion. They were discussing how a dignified expert on the heaven list had fallen to such a state. However, his heart was as firm as a rock. On the path of martial arts, he began to advance by leaps and bounds. Suddenly, everything had changed. Back then, the Ting Qingshan, who had been hunted by the whole world, had returned. First, it was Jing Yi's identity which shocked the whole world. After that, he rode the undying phoenix and brought the 6-legged blade-like Qi with him. With a domineering force, he suppressed Emperor Yu's Hall and killed the Emptiness Realm culmination experts of the Shooting Sun God Mountain and Emperor Yu's Hall. Announcing his return, a terrifying genius who reached the Emptiness Realm at the age of 21. He was worried and scared. As expected, not long after, the Guiyuan sect attacked Qinghu Island. In his heart, the small Guiyuan sect was nothing. How could a small sect that established itself in the land of a county shake Qinghu Island like an ant trying to shake a tree? However, this little Bayan had the assistance of the peerless genius Ting Qingshan since ancient times. He really wanted Qinghu Island to win, but in the end Grandmaster was dead. The entire Qinghu Island was destroyed. Many senior and junior brothers either died or fled. In desperation, he actually took the last step and reached the emptiness realm. From then on, he lived in this world for only one purpose: revenge. Thus, he destroyed his own face and stepped into the Boorish land to search for the legendary berserkers. Then, he began his plan. 20 years of planning. He had won the respect of the entire barbarian race. The barbarians regarded him as a truly virtuous person, a benefactor. He traveled through the 9 provinces, the Eastern Sea, the Prairie, and the Western regions, searching for all kinds of experts, seeking revenge. He used all kinds of schemes and thought of all kinds of methods, but the genius Ting Qingshan from back then had now become a feudal lord. The Xingyi sect and the 200,000 Blood Wolf army were famous throughout the world. Countless disciples of the internal martial arts in the land of the 9 prefectures believed in Ting Qingshan. It was too difficult to deal with Ting Qingshan. Schemes after schemes, people after people, and in the end, he even used the barbarian tribe temple, which he had the most confidence in. But he still lost. He was in despair. After reaching the emptiness realm, he stepped into the insightful emptiness stage within 20 years. Moreover, he was able to defeat the extremely talented emptiness culmination demonic beast, the violet-haired godly ape. With such strength, he was in despair. He knew that he could not escape. With the speed of the undying phoenix, if he did not succeed in killing Ting Qingshan, he would definitely die. But he could not die in the hands of Ting Qingshan. He even wanted Ting Qingshan to never know his true identity. He hated the unfairness of the heavens. It was not that he did not try his best. It was just that Ting Qingshan improved too quickly. Bang! The corpse fell into the ruined forest below. There was no sign of life. No matter how glorious he was in his previous life, he would only be a cup of soil after death. Whoosh! Ting Qingshan transformed into a beam of light and landed in front of the black-cloaked, golden-masked man. He committed suicide? A hint of shock could be seen in Ting Qingshan's eyes. An emptiness realm expert committed suicide. How much hatred, how much courage, and how much despair did he have to commit suicide? A beam of light descended and transformed into a human figure. It was Pei San. This Jin Xing. Pei San looked at the corpse and said with a faint smile, "I used to look down on him because he only knew how to scheme. However, he actually committed suicide. I was starting to admire him a little. An emptiness realm expert actually committed suicide. Ting Qingshan, it seems that this Jin Xing had a deep hatred for you." Ting Qingshan nodded slightly. He wanted to destroy the Xingyi sect and kill his daughter and son. If he did not have a deep hatred for Ting Qingshan, why would he do such a thing? Let me see who he is. Ting Qingshan lowered his head and grabbed the golden mask. Phew! The mask was removed. Ting Qingshan's facial expression changed. He could not help but feel shocked. It was a hideous face. The face was full of claw marks. Except for the eyes, Ting Qingshan could not see any part of the face that was intact. If one did not look at the eyes, it would be hard to believe that this was a face. Disfigured. Pei San said in surprise, "Ting Qingshan, do you recognize who he is?" "Yes, who is he?" Ting Qingshan stared at the ugly face and the craziness in the eyes. He shook his head and sighed. "I always thought that Elder Jin Xing's real identity was Qinghu Island's Guyong. However, I could not be sure without seeing his face. But now that I have seen his face, I cannot be sure. Elder Jin Xing is suspected to be Guyong," Pei San muttered. He could not help but laugh. Death is like an extinguished lamp. Everything ends. Ting Qingshan shook his head and said. However, Ting Qingshan still had a knot in his heart. After all, he did not know the true face of this person. He only saw an extremely ugly face. A strong wind blew. The undying phoenix and the godly thunderbolt hawk also landed behind Ting Qingshan and Pei San. In midair, the huge black centipede, the black crow, the purple-haired godly ape, and the black demonic dragon were all hovering in the air. The 3 barbarian temple elders on the back of the huge centipede also had complicated emotions. The great elder, who was wearing the slaughter armor, said in a deep voice, "You too, he is dead. You can leave now. You cannot touch Elder Jin's corpse." The bald giant said solemnly, "The barbarian tribe is indebted to Elder Jin. We will bury him in the elder's tomb." "Up to you. Who is interested in a corpse?" Pei San said indifferently. Although Ting Qingshan hated this person, he did not hate a corpse anymore. "Sovereign Pei, should we go back now?" Ting Qingshan looked at Pei San. Pei San looked at Ting Qingshan and said with a smile, "Ting Qingshan, I came with you to help you kill Elder Jin, who is suspected to be Gu Yong. You have achieved your goal. However, I am here to look for that stone tablet. I would like to ask Ting Qingshan to help me look for it. What do you think?" Ting Qingshan was stunned. Then, he smiled and said, "Sovereign Pei, how can I disobey? Haha, you rascal." Pei San could not help but laugh. At Ting Qingshan and Pei San's level, there were only a few people in the world who were worthy of their respect. Ting Qingshan admired Pei San's strength. At the same time, Pei San was able to achieve great achievements in the Tao of Beasts, the Tao of Buddhism, and the Tao of Sword. Ting Qingshan had to admire Pei San. Pei San also admired Ting Qingshan. When they were at the same age, he was much weaker than Ting Qingshan. Whether it was creating the branch of internal martial art or attaining the culmination of the insightful emptiness realm at such a young age, Pei San could not help but be amazed. "All right, let's look for that stone tablet," Pei San said with a smile. "Let's begin." Ting Qingshan and Pei San soared into the sky at the same time. Then, a gray beam of light with faint flashes of lightning swept across the area around the barbarian tribe temple. There was also a black beam of light with faint colors of 5 colors that swept downwards as well. The 2 insightful emptiness realm experts began to search the barbarian tribe temple. This scene enraged the people of the barbarian tribe temple. "You too, what are you doing?" the great elder shouted. Pei San looked at him disdainfully and sneered, "Old man, I advise you to keep quiet. Otherwise, I will flatten the barbarian tribe temple and take away the omnipotent armor." This frightened the great elder of the barbarian tribe. Although he was angry, he did not dare to say anything. Ting Qingshan and Pei San, the 2 insightful emptiness realm experts, began to search the surroundings of the barbarian tribe temple. "Sovereign Pei, we have been searching for a long time, but we have not found the omnipotent stone tablet. Could it be that you have been tricked?" Ting Qingshan looked at Pei San. Pei San, who was also flying in the sky, glanced at Ting Qingshan and said with a smile, "No one can compare to me when it comes to charming people and investigating whether they are telling the truth or not. I am sure that Elder Jin, who is suspected to be Gu Yong, is telling the truth. Ting Qingshan, help me search for 3 days. If we can't find it in 3 days, we will forget about it," Pei San said with a smile. "Sovereign Ting, do you agree?" Ting Qingshan smiled. "All right, 3 days it is then." Therefore, Ting Qingshan and Pei San spread out with the barbarian tribe temple as the center. At the same time, they went underground to search. On the evening of the 2nd day of the search, a waterfall fell from a high mountain in the depths of the desolate land. Rumble, the waterfall looked like a curtain. Under the rays of the setting sun, it shone with a strange color. "Ting Qingshan." A voice came from afar. 2 streams of light, one in front of the waterfall, hovered in front of it. "I finally found it." Pei San looked at the waterfall with a smile. "I didn't expect it to be hidden so far away." Ting Qingshan smiled. Both of them scanned the area with the power of their worlds and discovered a strange tablet that was neither jade nor stone hidden among the rocks behind the waterfall. Based on the strange waves of energy, Ting Qingshan and Pei San could instantly tell that this was an item left behind by an omnipotent expert. Pei San stretched out his hand and a huge shadow of a claw appeared in the air. The huge shadow of the claw cracked the mountain wall behind the waterfall and pulled out a strange tablet. The tablet then fell into Pei San's hand. This tablet was similar to the celestial jade annulus that Ting Qingshan had seen before. It glowed with a faint green light. Under the rays of the setting sun, it looked even more extraordinary. Ting Qingshan and Pei San looked at the tablet. Yu the Great and Ing Zheng reached the omnipotent realm. They broke through the void and left. However, none of them returned. No one knew what lay in front of him after he took that step. Forget it. Since there is nothing left in this world, why not drink a cup of strong wine and leave in a carefree manner? The words on the tablet contained a strong sword will. Ting Qingshan and Pei San were completely attracted by the words. They remained silent for a long time. The update was completed. The 11th chapter, 20 Years of Wind and Cloud, ended. The next chapter is the 12th chapter, which is the last chapter of the 9 Cauldrons. Its name is Reincarnation of the 9 Cauldrons. Chapter 598. The sun was setting, and the sound of the waterfall was endless. However, Ting Qingshan couldn't help but think, what is in front of me after I take this step? Yes, what is in front of me? At Ting Qingshan's level, he knew that once he reached the omnipotent realm, he would be able to resist the suppression of the land of the 9 prefectures. He would be able to break the world of the land of the 9 prefectures with the power of his own world. In other words, he would be able to break the void. After shattering the void and leaving this world, what would it be like? Ting Qingshan had the same question. He thought that he would know what would happen after he broke the void after he reached the omnipotent realm. However, according to the stone tablet left by the poetic sword god, Li Tai Bai, the omnipotent realm was also confused about where he would go after he broke the void. Ha 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 ha! Suddenly, a hearty laughter sounded. Ting Qingshan looked at Pei San, who was laughing wantonly in surprise. He couldn't help but ask, Sovereign Pei, what are you laughing at? I'm happy. Pei San smiled at Ting Qingshan and said, I'm happy, so I'm laughing. Isn't that right? What's there to be happy about? Ting Qingshan frowned. Pei San smiled as he looked at the stone tablet in his hand and said, Ting Qingshan, look. This stone tablet was left by the omnipotent realm expert Li Tai Bai. He said, no one knows what is in front of me after I take this step. Haha, I used to think about what would happen after I reached the omnipotent realm and broke the void. I always thought that I would know after I reached the omnipotent realm. But now, it seems that Li Tai Bai is also confused. Pei San smiled and said, I'm happy. Since no one knows, isn't it better? Ting Qingshan was stunned. Pei San looked at the setting sun in the west and said with a smile, one can live a happy and exciting life because one doesn't know. It was because the future was unknown. Because it is unknown after breaking the void, I look forward to it. Ting Qingshan nodded slightly and smiled. Similarly, he also looked forward to what would happen after breaking the void. Would it be a chaotic world? A strange new world? Or a new life? No one knew. The supreme cultivators who knew about it had all left the 9 states a long time ago. Rumble. The nearby waterfall constantly bombarded the pool of water. At this moment, the undying phoenix and the godly thunderbolt hawk flew over from afar. These 2 bird-type emptiness realm demonic beasts had noticed that Ting Qingshan and Pei San had been searching for the stone tablet. Therefore, they were too lazy to follow them. However, when they realized that Ting Qingshan and Pei San had stopped searching and gathered together, they knew. He should have found the ultimate stone steel. What a pity! Pei San could not help but shake his head and say, back then, when Li Taibai was writing this stele, I believe he did not infuse all the Tao he had comprehended into it. Ting Qingshan was also looking at this stone tablet. There were a few words written on the stone tablet. The sword intent was extremely strong, but with just a slight probe, one could clearly sense the profoundness of the sword intent within. It was impossible for a supreme expert who was proficient in the Tao of calligraphy to contain all the Taos he had comprehended every time he wrote. At the very most, he would only be able to infuse some of his sword intent into it. It was extremely difficult for him to infuse his comprehension into a few lines of word. It would also consume a lot of his mental energy. Even the supreme experts did not like to torture themselves. They would not waste their mental energy to infuse their Tao into the words. Senior Li Taibai. Ting Qingshan smiled and said, back then, I wrote these few lines of words casually. However, even if I wrote it casually, I can still see the depth of Senior Li Taibai's Tao of sword by looking at the sword intent. No matter how profound it is, what's the point of not being able to see it? Pei San shook his head and smiled. I came here for nothing. However, this stone tablet was written by Li Taibai. If I take it back and give it to my daughter, she will definitely be happy. Ting Qingshan revealed a smile. He realized that he and Pei San had something in common. They both doted on their daughters. This made Ting Qingshan have a good impression of Pei San. It's a pity that I can't observe Senior Li Taibai's Tao of sword. If I could observe it, I might be inspired. Pei San shook his head and sighed. Actually, at his level, he was only a little bit away from the omnipotent realm. Being able to observe the Tao of the omnipotent experts in history would be very beneficial. Normally, the so-called godly codices were just descriptions. What Pei San needed was to personally experience the concept. Seeing Pei San's reaction, Ting Qingshan thought of the celestial jade annulus that he found on the Bright Moon Island when he was crossing the sea. That celestial jade annulus was written by Li Taibai after he became an omnipotent expert. Back then, I didn't even comprehend 1/10 of it. That celestial jade annulus probably contained all of Li Taibai's Tao. When Ting Qingshan thought of this, he couldn't help but feel excited. Back then, Ting Qingshan didn't dare to study the Tao of sword before he reached the emptiness realm. He was afraid that it would affect his Tao. However, now, he had one foot in the insightful emptiness realm culmination. His Tao was already relatively complete. Observing the Tao of other omnipotent experts would only inspire him. It wouldn't affect the stability of his Tao. After I consolidate my understanding, I will go to the Bright Moon Island. I will choose a time to go to the Bright Moon Island. Ting Qingshan thought to himself. Soon after, Ting Qingshan and Pei San rode the undying phoenix and the godly thunderbolt hawk and left the desolate land. On the way back, the undying phoenix and the godly thunderbolt hawk traveled at an astonishing speed. In fact, the godly thunderbolt hawk was only slightly slower than the undying phoenix. Ting Qingshan, Pei San said, you should know that the army of the heavenly god palace is going to attack the Mani temple. Standing on the back of the undying phoenix, Ting Qingshan looked at Pei San and said with the use of the sound transmission technique, yes, of course I know. Sovereign Pei's army of 1,000,000 elite soldiers has caused a huge commotion. Everyone in the world knows about it. This time, I will definitely destroy the Mani temple. Pei San's gaze was as sharp as a knife as he said in a deep voice, however, the Mani temple has a strong foundation and many emptiness realm experts. It will be very difficult to kill all of them at one go. Therefore, I want to ask Sovereign Ting Qingshan to lend me the undying phoenix. The undying phoenix was very good at flying and drilling. With the help of the undying phoenix, Ting Qingshan would have an advantage in both escaping and pursuing emptiness realm experts. Ting Qingshan, if you are willing to help, I am confident that I can destroy the Mani Temple with the help of the Undying Phoenix. Pei San looked at Ting Qingshan and asked, Qingshan, are you willing to help? Ting Qingshan smiled. In the past, because of the Guiyuan sect, Ting Qingshan had a falling out with Pei San. At that time, Ting Qingshan only wanted the Guiyuan sect to have Jiangning County. However, Pei San did not agree. Pei San said that he owed Ting Qingshan a favor. At most, he would move the Guiyuan sect to Nanman County or Chu County. Pei San actually has the nerve to ask for the Undying Phoenix from me. Ting Qingshan thought to himself, moreover, the Mani Temple and the Heavenly God Palace are fighting. The Mani Temple has the strongest foundation and countless experts, while the Heavenly God Palace has the strongest momentum. Why should I interfere? If Little Blue gets injured because of this? Several thoughts flashed through his mind. Ting Qingshan smiled and said, Sovereign Pei, this matter involves a lot of people. The Heavenly God Palace and the Mani Temple are two of the most powerful sects in the land of the 9 prefectures. If the two sects fight, it would be inappropriate for me to interfere. You are not willing to lend it to me? Pei San frowned. Ting Qingshan shook his head and smiled. Sovereign Pei, I cannot help you with this matter. Moreover, when Little Blue's mother, let Little Blue follow me, she asked me to ensure its safety. Little Blue's mother would also absolutely not allow Little Blue to get mixed up in this kind of matter. Pei San looked at Ting Qingshan. Ting Qingshan looked at Pei San with a smile. Through the look in Pei San's eyes, Pei San knew that the immature Ting Qingshan was no longer someone that he could threaten. After all, Ting Qingshan, who had reached the insightful emptiness realm, together with the Undying Phoenix, could threaten any sect. That's right. Pei San smiled and said, Since Little Blue's mother asked you to do this, it is the right thing to do. Ting Qingshan smiled. However, Ting Qingshan, if you don't lend the Undying Phoenix to the Heavenly God Palace, I have to warn you. Don't lend the Undying Phoenix to the Mani Temple, Pei San said with a smile. Pei San said with a smile, I don't want to see the monks of the Mani Temple riding on the Undying Phoenix to fight against the Heavenly God Palace. The Undying Phoenix, Little Blue, had learned some unique skills of the Phoenix from its mother. Once it risked its life, its speed could be said to be the fastest in the land of the 9 prefectures. You don't want to lend it to the Mani Temple? Ting Qingshan raised his eyebrows. Pei San frowned and said, Ting Qingshan, I remember that when the branch of the internal martial art was spread in the land of the 9 prefectures, the Mani Temple was the one that resisted the most. In the entire land of the 9 prefectures, Rongzhou and Liangzhou, the 2 counties under the control of the Mani Temple, should be the 2 places where the number of people who learn the internal martial art is the least. They didn't give you any face. Ting Qingshan was stunned. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Pei San tried to persuade him not to lend the Undying Phoenix to the Mani Temple. She even said this out loud. However, this was the truth. The Mani Temple ruled over Rongzhou and Liangzhou. It was an absolute rule, and it was very xenophobic. In addition, the Mani Temple ruled through religious means. Almost every family in the 2 prefectures believed in Buddhism, and everyone believed in Buddhism. Therefore, in Rongzhou and Liangzhou, if people learned Taoism or the internal martial art, they would be regarded as betraying the Buddhism. The Mani Temple had also been spreading this information to the 2 prefectures under their control. Those who learned Taoism or the internal martial art were regarded as heretics. Heretics were looked down upon in Rongzhou and Liangzhou. It was normal for them to be bullied. Therefore, Ting Qingshan's internal martial art could not be spread in Rongzhou and Liangzhou. Although there were people who learned the internal martial art, there were very few of them. Ting Qingshan was very dissatisfied with the fact that the Mani Temple had categorized the cultivators of the branch of internal martial art as heretic. However, there was nothing he could do. The Mani Temple was a tough nut to crack. For many years, no one dared to offend the Mani Temple. However, after so many years, since martial ancestor Shiga established the Mani Temple, the biggest calamity in the history of the Mani Temple had finally arrived. Sovereign Pei, of course, I said that I won't interfere. I won't lend the undying phoenix to the Mani Temple. Ting Qingshan said with a smile. P.S. Chapter 1 is here. Chapter 599. With Ting Qingshan's words, Pei San's mood became much better. Along the way, he and Ting Qingshan chatted happily. When they were about to part ways, Ting Qingshan was going to the western regions, and Ting Qingshan was going back to the Xingyi sect. Pei San said with a smile, Ting Qingshan, when the army of the Heavenly God Palace reaches the Mani Temple, you must go and take a look. I think the Mani Temple has insightful emptiness realm expert. Ting Qingshan, you should take a look at the battle between insightful emptiness realm expert. It might be beneficial for you. Of course. Ting Qingshan nodded with a smile. Then I shall take my leave. Pei San cupped his hands and stood on the back of the godly thunderbolt hawk. They flew toward the northwest. Ting Qingshan watched Pei San leave. A battle between insightful emptiness realm experts? I wonder how powerful the insightful emptiness realm experts are. Ting Qingshan smiled and sat on the back of the undying phoenix. They flew toward the Great Yen Mountain of Jiangning County. The undying phoenix was extremely fast. When they arrived at the Great Yen Mountain, the sun had just set. Smoke rose from the chimneys of the towns and villages at the foot of the Great Yen Mountain. Ting Qingshan looked down from the sky. He saw his wife, Li Jun, looking at the sky anxiously. His daughter, Lin, was accompanying Li Jun. Seeing this, Ting Qingshan felt warmth in his heart. He felt that marrying Li Jun in the Duanmu continent was the wisest decision he made in his life. Whoosh! Li Jun and Lin were pleasantly surprised when they saw the fiery red stream of light descending at high speed. Qingshan. Father! When Ting Qingshan landed, the mother and daughter ran over. When they saw that Ting Qingshan's clothes were torn and only his armor was left, Li Jun was shocked. When she saw that Ting Qingshan was not injured, she heaved a sigh of relief and teased, Qingshan, it seems that you encountered some trouble during your trip to the barbarian tribe temple. Ting Qingshan smiled helplessly, Little Jun, don't make fun of me. Bring me some clean clothes. I will take a bath and change my clothes. And then we can talk. He took a bath and changed his clothes. In the evening, Ting Qingshan's family of 5 gathered together for dinner. At the same time, Ting Qingshan told the story of what had happened. According to Ting Qingshan's original plan, his parents would also stay here. After Ting Yongfan's legs grew, Ting Yongfan had been training the younger generation of the clan members. Both Ting Qingshan and Yongfan drank the scarlet fruit wine and were in good health. Therefore, Ting Qingshan went to visit his parents occasionally. At the same time, he asked Honglin and Hongwu to visit his grandparent. We finally killed that bastard. Honglin listened to Ting Qingshan and clenched her fists. Honglin hated the person who had plotted everything in the dark. It's good that he died, Hongwu couldn't help but say. Father, Honglin said hastily, who is that person? Why do you hate our Ting clan so much that you want to deal with us again and again? Li Jun, who was at the side, asked. Yes, Qingshan. Who is that person? Is it Gu Yong? Ting Qingshan shook his head helplessly and said, even if I took off his mask, I wouldn't know his real identity. You don't know him even if you take off his mask? Li Jun couldn't help but ask. Hongwu, Honglin, and Hongwu's wife, Lei Shiru, all looked at Ting Qingshan. No. Ting Qingshan shook his head and said, it's because his face is disfigured. Disfigured? Everyone in the living room quieted down. So, I can only say that this person is Elder Jinxing, who is suspected to be Gu Yong. Ting Qingshan smiled and said loudly, all right, no matter who he is dead now. This matter is over. After returning to the Xingyi sect, Ting Qingshan spent 3 days with his family. On the 4th day, he went into secluded cultivation in the cultivation room again. Ting Qingshan had gained a lot from the barbarian tribe temple. He had been able to transform the 5 elemental power of the world into the destructive power of the world. According to Ting Qingshan's thoughts, I need to consolidate my current realm and understand the destructive power of the world. In the 3 postures there are life and death. Now I have succeeded in death. In that case, I can use the 3 postures to comprehend the concept of death, the opposite of life. Ting Qingshan cultivated wholeheartedly. While the Xingyi sect was peaceful and Ting Qingshan was cultivating, a terrible war was taking place in Yenzhou of the 9 prefectures. Although the emptiness realm expert of the shooting sun god mountain had died, they had been in Yenzhou for too long. Moreover, the disciples of the shooting sun god mountain were good at archery, which gave the Guiyuan sect a headache. After all, there were only a few people who were not afraid of the archery skills of the experts of the shooting sun god mountain. Fortunately, the Guiyuan sect had the emptiness realm expert, Zhuge Yuanhong, and the strongest Long Gang guards. The fierce battle started at the end of last year. Usually, when the Long Gang guards broke through a city, the city would be taken back by the people of the shooting sun god mountain. In the past, the Guiyuan sect was able to destroy Qinghu Island. The first credit was due to the Long Gang guards. The second credit was due to Ting Qingshan and the Undying Phoenix. Actually, for a great sect that had millions of subordinates, the threat of human emptiness realm experts was not considered great. After all, how many people could a human emptiness realm expert kill in one go? The real threat was a terrifying emptiness realm demonic beast like the Undying Phoenix. One breath of fire could burn thousands of people to death. Just like the demonic dragon Violet Rain, one breath of cold air could freeze tens of thousands of soldiers to death. This was the biggest blow to the morale. What scared the army the most? However, the Guiyuan sect did not have an emptiness realm demonic beast. Therefore, the shooting sun god mountain only needed to avoid the sharp edge of the Long Gang guards, break up into smaller groups, and hide in various places. To fight for an inch of land with the Guiyuan sect. The initial failure caused Zhuge Yuanhong to choose to advance step by step, gradually nibbling away at Yenzhou. This was the method to conquer the next territory only after completely controlling one territory. Actually, Zhuge Yuanhong had another method, to ask Ting Qingshan for help. Unfortunately, because of what happened last time, Zhuge Yuanhong still had pride. In addition, in his opinion, if even the opponent's emptiness realm expert is dead, with such a great advantage, the Guiyuan sect will not be able to conquer Yenzhou. What qualifications do we have to lead Yenzhou? Therefore, Zhuge Yuanhong also regarded this war as a way to train the army. From the end of last year until April of the next year. Under the situation where the Guiyuan sect had the advantage in terms of strength, morale, and emptiness realm experts, it took the Guiyuan sect a total of 4 months and over 300,000 casualties to completely conquer Yenzhou. Although they had conquered Yenzhou, there were still survivors in various parts of Yenzhou. However, that no longer affected the overall situation. When the Guiyuan sect unified Yenzhou, plus the 8 counties of Yangzhou, an even bigger war attracted the attention of the people of the land of the 9 prefectures. The army of the Heavenly God Palace finally followed the Golden Road that connected the western region and Liangzhou and finally reached the border of Liangzhou. The Heavenly God Palace had a population of 1 billion, and its leader was an invincible expert like Pei San. This time, the Heavenly God Palace gathered its army, took a detour through the desert, entered the western region, and then followed the Golden Road to Liangzhou. It took a long time. However, no one doubted the strength of the army of the Heavenly God Palace. After 20 years of preparation, the army was selected from the 1 billion citizens. The two prefectures under the control of the Mani Temple had a population of 5 to 600 million. The Mani Temple had a long history. Rongzhou and Liangzhou were the two prefectures in the land of the 9 prefectures. As a sect left behind by an omnipotent expert, the Mani Temple had countless secret techniques and powerful experts. The two forces collided. It was absolutely terrifying. Even Ting Qingshan did not want to get involved in the battle. The sun was setting and the west was covered with clouds. In the Buddha Mountain of the Mani Temple. The Buddha Mountain was a forbidden area of the Mani Temple. Only Emptiness Realm Buddhist grandmasters were allowed to enter. At this moment, a chubby young monk flew over from afar and entered a cave halfway up the Buddha Mountain. The sleeves of the young monk's robe had 9 mysterious purple tattoos. Martial uncle. The young monk put his palms together and called out. A yellow-cloaked monk was sitting cross-legged in the cave, facing the wall. Fan Kong, you are here. The yellow-cloaked monk's voice was gentle, and the sound of Zen could be heard. It had the magical effect of calming one's heart. How is the army of the Heavenly God Palace doing? The army of the Mani Temple can't stop them at the border. The young monk shook his head and said, 20 years ago, the Heavenly God Palace had an extremely powerful elite army. During these 20 years, the Heavenly God Palace recruited a large number of disciples from the Great Prairie, Yuzhou and Qingzhou. Yuzhou, Qingzhou, and the Great Prairie have a large number of internal martial arts cultivators. Many of these internal martial arts cultivators have been recruited by the Heavenly God Palace. As long as one has a small achievement in internal martial arts, one will become a second-rated warrior. With the help of the secret inner strength technique, one will become a second-rated warrior. If one has a high achievement in internal martial arts and has inner strength, one will be comparable to a first-rated warrior. Because of the internal martial arts, the Heavenly God Palace has a large number of elite soldiers. Among the millions of soldiers of the Heavenly God Palace, the weakest is a third-rated warrior. Most of them are second-rated warriors. The young monk shook his head and sighed. If we had known this, the Mani Temple would have allowed the people of Rongzhou and Liangzhou to learn the internal martial arts. Although some of them would have joined the Xingyi sect, most of them would have joined the Mani Temple because they missed their hometown. The yellow-cloaked monk, who was sitting cross-legged, fell silent for a long time. The Mani Temple had a high status in Rongzhou and Liangzhou. They eliminated all cultivation methods that were not of the Mani Temple. Martial uncle, this disaster is not a small matter. The young monk couldn't help but say anxiously. Sigh. The yellow-cloaked monk let out a long sigh. Fan Kong, bring 2 elders from the Elder's Palace to the Xingyi sect. The yellow-cloaked monk said slowly, tell Ting Qingshan that in the future, the 600 million people of Rongzhou and Liangzhou can also learn the internal martial arts. His Qingshan enterprise can also be opened in these 2 prefectures. He can recruit cultivators of the internal martial arts to join the Xingyi sect. I hope that he can lend the undying phoenix to the Mani Temple. Martial uncle. The young monk froze. Ever since martial ancestor Shiga established the sect. Since when did the Mani Temple lower its head? They had never competed with the Emperor Yu's Hall or the Ying family. However, deep down, they were very proud and aloof. The Mani Temple was undoubtedly the #1 sect in the land of the 9 prefectures. In the territory of the Mani Temple, it was forbidden to spread the cultivation methods of any sect. This absolute dominance showed the arrogance of the Mani Temple. The #1 sect didn't depend on words. It depended on strength. So what if the Emperor Yu's Hall shouted loudly? The people of the world still believed that the Mani Temple was the most powerful sect. But now the Mani Temple had to lower its head. Martial uncle, in the past, we didn't show mercy to Ting Qingshan. We didn't even allow him to build the Qingshan enterprise. We also forbade the cultivation of the internal martial arts. If I go now, will he? The young monk felt embarrassed. Go. This is a matter of life and death for the Mani Temple. What's the point of bowing down to Ting Qingshan? The yellow-cloaked monk sighed and said, Fan Kong, you must invite the undying phoenix. The young monk took a deep breath and put his palms together. Yes, martial uncle. End of 2 chapters. The 12th chapter, which is also the beginning of the last chapter of the Story of the 9 Cauldrons. I hope everyone will vote for tomato. Thank you. Chapter 600. On the 26th of April, the great Yen Mountain already had a trace of the hot summer air. In the morning, on the training field of the East Flower Garden of the Xing-Yi sect, his daughter, Honglin, and his son, Hongwu, were practicing the 5 elemental boxing seriously. Honglin specialized in the bursting fist. On the other hand, Hongwu was practicing the 5-element boxing, while Ting Qingshan and Li Jun watched from the side. Hongwu, turn the horizontal punch into a chop punch. Watch how I do it. Ting Qingshan frowned and scolded Hongwu. Hongwu immediately stopped. When Ting Qingshan swung his fist horizontally, it was as if his entire body had turned into the boundless earth, and no one could move him. When it suddenly turned into a cleaving fist, it was as if the power of the entire earth had converged into a splitting mountain axe, and then suddenly cleaved down. 5-element fist, 5-element fist, one punch after another. I don't expect you to stack your power, but you have to connect your fists. Ting Qingshan looked at Hongwu and said, Yes. Once again, Hongwu focused on practicing his punches. Ting Qingshan smiled and nodded as he looked at his son practicing boxing seriously. When Li Jun saw Ting Qingshan's expression, she couldn't help but laugh. Qingshan, Hongwu hasn't even reached the Grandmaster realm yet. You don't have to be too harsh. You don't know, but Hongwu is actually very smart. Perhaps his talent was not as good as Lin Lin's. However, Hongwu knew how to reflect on himself. He reflected again and again, discovered his own mistakes, and corrected them. At his age, it is the best time for him to practice martial arts. How can he slack off? Ting Qingshan said with satisfaction in his heart. The satisfaction of having a successor. After staying in the land of the 9 prefectures for a long time, Ting Qingshan had also been influenced. When it came to passing on disciples, it was naturally best if one's own bloodline could inherit it. By the way, Qingshan, according to the information we received yesterday, the army of the Heavenly God Palace has already invaded Liangzhou. The army of the Mani Temple at the border of Liangzhou cannot stop them. Li Jun smiled and said, The monks of the Mani Temple have always been arrogant. He looked down on any sect in the land of the 9 prefectures. Perhaps he didn't say it, but his actions were absolutely domineering. This time, they are going to lose a lot of face. It's time for me to lose face. Ting Qingshan smiled indifferently. Ting Qingshan and his wife did not have a good impression of the Mani Temple. In the land of the 9 prefectures, the establishment of Qingshan Guild Hall was only prohibited in the territories of the Mani Temple. With the current power and influence of the Xing-Yi sect, which clan in the land of the 9 prefectures wouldn't give face to the Xing-Yi sect? However, the Mani Temple did not give them face. In front of you, he always acts like an enlightened monk, but when it comes to doing things, he is still very stubborn. Huh! Ting Qingshan raised his head in surprise. What's wrong? Li Jun asked, puzzled. The people from the Mani Temple are here, Ting Qingshan said with a smile. Suddenly, he frowned and his face darkened. He could clearly sense that the 3 Emptiness Realm monks from the Mani Temple were flying directly toward the East Flower Garden. Humph, you really don't know the rules, Ting Qingshan thought to himself. It was the same principle as knocking on the door when entering someone else's house. To enter other sects, under normal circumstances, one would have to wait for the sect's gatekeeper disciple to report to them, and they would only be allowed to enter after receiving permission. However, the Mani Temple was the #1 sect in the land of the 9 prefectures. If it was an ordinary disciple visiting the Xingyi sect, he could just wait at the entrance. However, this time, it was the emptiness realm experts. Why would they bother to ask for permission? It was embarrassing for the 3 emptiness realm experts to wait at the entrance of the Xingyi sect. However, the Mani Temple had forgotten. The current Xingyi sect was not something that the Mani Temple could belittle. Sovereign Ting. A voice sounded. Immediately, 3 streams of light landed beside the training field of the East Flower Garden. Ting Qingshan glanced over and saw that the 3 monks in front of him were all dressed in solemn, dark purple robes. The monk in the lead was a chubby youth. One of the other 2 was a white-haired old monk, and the other was a black-haired old monk. At this moment, the 3 of them looked surprised. I didn't expect Ting Qingshan to have reached the insightful emptiness realm. Ting Qingshan is indeed one of the few peerless geniuses since the creation of the land of the 9 prefectures. The 3 monks were secretly alarmed. The chubby young man put his palms together with a smile and said, Fan Kong greets Sovereign Ting. Great Master Fan Kong, we met outside Hong Tian City last time, Ting Qingshan said calmly. May I know why the 3 of you came to the Xingyi sect? Oh no. The chubby young man, Fan Kong, felt a knot in his heart. At this moment, Ting Qingshan's expression showed that he was not happy. However, the chubby young man, Fan Kong, still smiled and said, Sovereign Ting, this time, I came with my 2 martial nephews to meet you. If it's about the Mani Temple and the Heavenly God Palace, then please don't say it, Ting Qingshan said calmly. The 3 monks' expressions changed. The black-haired old monk at the side said in a hoarse voice, Sovereign Ting, this time, my martial uncle came with the 2 of us to meet Sovereign Ting. He is very sincere. Ting Qingshan turned around and looked at his children. He waved his hand and said, Linlin, Hongwu, the 2 of you will stop practicing today. Go and rest. When Hongwu and Honglin saw their father talking with the 3 monks, they immediately answered, Yes, father. Little June, you go and rest too, Ting Qingshan said. Li Jun and Ting Qingshan exchanged glances. The 2 of them had always been resentful of the stubborn and impenetrable Mani Temple. Today, the people of the Mani Temple did the same thing as before. They didn't let the disciples of the Xingyi sect inform them of their arrival. Instead, they flew directly to Ting Qingshan's house. If Ting Qingshan still helped the Mani Temple because of this, he would be a fool. Sovereign Ting. Seeing that Ting Qingshan had asked his family members to leave, the 3 monks felt that the atmosphere was not right. The white-haired old monk hastily spoke. Ting Qingshan took 2 steps and sat on a stone bench. He looked up at the 3 and said, You 3 should know, what kind of place is the East Flower Garden? This is the residence of Ting Qingshan. Why did they barge in without informing us? The 3 monks were stunned. They regretted not going to the gate and asking the disciples to inform them. However, they had gotten used to it. They could just fly over when they saw an emptiness realm expert. Why would it be so troublesome to inform them? However, this subconscious thought was now used by Ting Qingshan as a weakness. He obviously wanted to use this to drive the 3 monks away. Martial uncle, Ting Qingshan is too arrogant. The black-haired old monk said with the use of the sound transmission technique. What do you know? Ting Qingshan is making a big fuss. He wants us to leave in anger. This way, he will be able to disassociate himself from us easily. There is no need to talk nonsense. The chubby young man scolded with the use of the sound transmission technique. He then looked at Ting Qingshan with a smile and said, Sovereign Ting, you are one of the few weirdos in the history of the land of the 9 prefectures. I, Fan Kong, have always respected Sovereign Ting. I, Fan Kong, have lived for hundreds of years. I have reincarnated once. However, I have yet to step into the insightful emptiness realm. I am ashamed. This makes me admire Sovereign Ting even more. The chubby young man complimented Ting Qingshan and said with a smile, As for entering without informing us, when we flew here, Sovereign Ting must have noticed us. If Sovereign Ting didn't want to see us, he would have sent us away with the use of the sound transmission technique. Since Sovereign Ting didn't chase us away, he obviously agreed to see us. What we're doing can't be considered as entering without permission. Ting Qingshan was slightly surprised. This chubby young man had reincarnated once. It seemed like he was not the kind of person who cultivated to the point that he became stupid. He was quite smart. The Mani Temple has always admired you, Sovereign Ting. The young man, Fan Kong, smiled and said, however, since the establishment of the Mani Temple, we have only taught the Dharma in Liangzhou and Rongzhou. We did not allow other cultivation methods to be spread. After 2,000 to 3,000 years, the disciples of the temple have gotten used to it. Therefore, we followed the order of the martial ancestor and forbade Liangzhou and Rongzhou from cultivating the internal martial art created by Sovereign Ting. However, this time, the Hall of Elders discussed and felt that the internal martial art and the cultivation method of the Buddhist sect can complement each other. Therefore, we should promote the internal martial art in Liangzhou and Rongzhou. This time, I came to tell Sovereign Ting about this. Ting Qingshan glanced at the young man, Fan Kong, and asked, Liangzhou and Rongzhou also let their people learn the internal martial art? Yes. Fan Kong smiled and said, the internal martial art cultivates the body and the cultivation method of the Buddhist sect cultivates the heart. They complement each other and are excellent. Moreover, the Buddhist sect values the freedom of the heart. In the future, if the cultivators of the internal martial art want to go to the Xing-Yi sect, the Mani Temple will not stop them. Ting Qingshan looked at Fan Kong with a smile that was not a smile. This Fan Kong was very smart. If he was an ordinary expert who only knew how to cultivate, he would naturally be happy that his fist art could be spread. As the saying goes, if you take advantage of others, it would be hard to refuse later. There is no need. Ting Qingshan smiled faintly. The Xing-Yi sect values fate. If you are fated, you can learn the internal martial art. If not, then forget it. As for the people of Liangzhou and Rongzhou, I don't care if they learn the internal martial art or not. If the three of you don't have anything else, I will send you off. I still have something to do today. The young man, Fan Kong, and the other 2 old monks were startled. Fan Kong was even more disappointed. Ordinary expert cultivators did not know how to negotiate. However, it was obvious that Ting Qingshan was not the kind of person who only knew how to cultivate. Ting Qingshan's words were simple, but the meaning was clear. The 3 of you, you'd better leave obediently. You still have some face left. If you don't leave, I'm going to kick you out. The young man, Fan Kong, was unwilling to give up. He still squeezed out a smile and said, Sovereign Ting, I heard that you have an undying phoenix. I have always wanted to see it. I wonder if I have the chance. The undying phoenix doesn't like to interact with outsiders. Ting Qingshan stood up and said. Monk Fan Kong and the other 2 old monks, looking at each other, they could only put their palms together and bid farewell. They flew away reluctantly. High up in the sky, the 3 monks had ugly expressions on their faces. Martial uncle, Ting Qingshan is not respecting the Mani Temple at all. The black-haired old monk said angrily. Fan Kong said indifferently, You don't want to give me face? If they don't give us face, they'll just kick us out. Could it be that you can deal with Ting Qingshan? The black-haired old monk was stunned. Respect is not given by others. You have to earn it. Fan Kong said indifferently, Martial uncle, when you defeat Pei San, you will be able to defeat Pei San. You will use your strength to tell the world that the Mani Temple is the #1 sect in the world. By then, no matter how arrogant Ting Qingshan is, he will have to lower his head in front of the Mani Temple. P.S. The first one is here. Chapter 601. On the 28th of April, the army of the Heavenly God Palace broke through Lifeng County City, an important checkpoint. In this battle, the Mani Temple lost almost 200,000 men, while the Heavenly God Palace lost less than 10,000 men. On the 11th day of the 5th month, the army of the Heavenly God Palace broke through the Tiangu Pass again. In this battle, more than 100,000 of the 300,000 soldiers of the Mani Temple died. The rest of the soldiers fled. The Heavenly God Palace had suffered 30,000 casualties in this battle. May 21st, it was as easy as crushing dry weeds. The Heavenly God Palace's army consisted of the absolute elites among the 1 billion citizens of Qingzhou, Yuzhou, and the Great Prairie. Together with the elites from the western region, the Heavenly God Palace's army had a total of 1.5 million soldiers. Under the leadership of Pei San, the god of heaven Su Mengta, the sword sex Li Chao, the king of beasts Wu Ho, Pei Hao, the king of the western regions Tizanki, and many other emptiness realm experts, they headed towards the Mani Temple through the shortest route. He didn't want to occupy the city. He did not seek to lead the people. The great army of the Heavenly God Palace followed the shortest route. They killed everything that stood in their way. Along the way, they conquered 6 major checkpoints. Even if they conquered some of the checkpoints, they didn't leave any troops behind. Instead, the entire army continued to advance. On June 12, the army of the Heavenly God Palace arrived at the foot of the Mani Temple. It was a hot summer night. Little June, the 1.5 million soldiers of the Heavenly God Palace did not occupy any cities. Instead, they broke through all obstacles and headed straight for the Mani Temple. It doesn't seem like they want to take over the territory of the Mani Temple. Ting Qingshan looked at the information in his hand and sighed. Li Jun, who was at the side, smiled and said, "I think he wants to take revenge." Yes. Ting Qingshan nodded. When 2 great powers fought, if they wanted to conquer a territory and conquer it, they would definitely send troops to occupy and fortify the territory. Otherwise, if they attacked a place without leaving any troops to defend it, wouldn't it be a waste of time? Qingshan, the army of the Heavenly God Palace, is now 1,400,000 strong. They have arrived at the mountain gate of the Mani Temple. The Mani Temple itself had nearly 1 million monks, 600,000 elite monks, and over 1 million highly skilled cultivators. More than 1 million against more than 1 million, and they were all elite. This battle will definitely be very tragic, very tragic. Li Jun couldn't help but exclaim. Ting Qingshan nodded slightly. In the land of the 9 prefectures, there was no third force that could compete with the Heavenly God Palace and the Mani Temple in terms of military strength. The Blood Wolf army of the Xingyi sect might be more elite than the Heavenly God Palace and the Mani Temple. However, the Blood Wolf army of the Xingyi sect was inferior in terms of numbers. Back then, Hongtian City was destroyed. The remaining 80,000 cavalrymen fought to the death. However, the Mani Temple is much more powerful than Hongtian City. Moreover, the monks of the Mani Temple are very confident, unlike Hongtian City, who knew that they would lose before the battle even started. Ting Qingshan smiled and said, "Little June, tomorrow, I will go to the foot of the mountain of Mani Temple with the undying phoenix, Little Blue, to watch the great battle. Moreover, there might be insightful emptiness realm experts in the Mani Temple. We can't miss the fight between 2 insightful emptiness realm experts." It didn't matter if it was the 2 strongest sects or the most elite armies. It was a battle between 2 insightful emptiness realm experts. All of these attracted Ting Qingshan. "Come back, you have to tell me." Li Jun smiled. She knew that the battle between millions of people would be extremely chaotic. If she went, Ting Qingshan would have to take care of her. "Don't worry," Ting Qingshan replied with a smile. On the morning of the 13th of June, Ting Qingshan rode the undying phoenix and left the great Yen mountain of Yangzhou. He then flew towards the west, past the Yenzhou region and the Rongzhou region. At the border of Liangzhou and Rongzhou, there was a continuous mountain range. The Mani Temple was built in this mountain range. Ever since the Mani Temple was built by the omnipotent expert, martial ancestor Shiga, it had been flourishing. As the largest temple in the land of the 9 prefectures, it usually accommodated more than 1,000,000 monks. Now, a large number of layman disciples and elite soldiers had gathered in the Mani Temple. There were a total of 600,000 elites and nearly 1,000,000 monks. This was the foundation of the Mani Temple. Phew, the hot summer wind was blowing. However, at the foot of the Mani Temple, there was a vast and mighty army of steel soldiers. They were like an endless ocean. These soldiers were the elite army of the Heavenly God Palace, which had the most imposing aura in the land of the 9 prefectures. This endless ocean-like army was enough to suffocate anyone. On the mountains of the Mani Temple, there were also a large number of monks with weapons in their hands. It seemed as if there was an endless number of them. The 2 sides were facing each other. Wow, there are so many people. It will be interesting if they fight. A silver-haired man dressed in purple stood in the distance, occasionally looking at the army on the boundless land, and occasionally looking at the countless monks on the mountains. I, Li Hang, have never seen so many elites fighting in my entire life. Interesting. Brother Li Hang. A voice rang in his ear. Li Hang turned his head and saw a beam of light shooting over from afar. It landed on the ground. It was a fat elder. Li Hang smiled and said, "Brother Jiang, you are here too. It seems that the Wanxiang sect is not busy these days." "Even if I am busy, I still have to come." The fat elder laughed. "The people of Emperor Yu's hall are here?" The fat elder saw 2 figures flying over from afar. They were Huang Tianqin and Lu Xia. After a while, the emptiness realm experts of various forces and even some unaffiliated emptiness realm experts arrived. Whether it was the powerful Ying family, Emperor Yu's hall, or the weaker Snow Hawk Hall and Guiyuan sect, they all sent people over. There were even 3 unaffiliated emptiness realm experts, including Li Hang. A group of emptiness realm experts gathered together, chatting and laughing. Another insightful emptiness realm expert. "Look over there." The group of emptiness realm experts turned their heads and were shocked by what they saw. In the distance, they saw Ting Qingshan, who was dressed in a white cloak and carried the reincarnation spear on his back, flying over on the undying phoenix. They were shocked that Ting Qingshan was an insightful emptiness realm expert, but they also saw a huge demonic dragon flying over on a cloud with Ting Qingshan. This demonic dragon was covered in black and purple dragon scales that were as big as a palm. Its huge golden eyes were as big as a wheel. Demonic dragon violet rain. Many people gasped. Ting Qingshan reached the insightful emptiness realm? The smile on Huang Tianqin's face froze as he stared at Ting Qingshan in astonishment. He had been defeated by Ting Qingshan last time, so he had focused on strengthening his cultivation base. Finally, his body had been strengthened and he had reached the initial completion of the insightful emptiness realm. This time, he came with the intention of suppressing Ting Qingshan and suppressing Ting Qingshan's arrogance. "Martial uncle." Lu Xia looked at Huang Tianqin and said, "This Ting Qingshan actually, humph." Huang Tianqin's face darkened with anger. At this moment, many emptiness realm experts went to welcome Ting Qingshan, who had just arrived. "Haha, Brother Ting, you reached the insightful emptiness realm in the blink of an eye. I admire you," the silver-haired Li Hang said with a smile. "Brother Li Hang." Ting Qingshan landed on the ground and walked over with a smile. Li Hang felt honored when he saw how polite Ting Qingshan was. After all, Ting Qingshan was now an insightful emptiness realm expert. He also had the Xing Yi sect, a terrifying force, under his command. This time, he brought the undying phoenix and the demonic dragon violet rain. Even Emperor Yu's hall and the Ying family felt pressured. Li Hang felt that Ting Qingshan had a higher status in his heart. Ting Qingshan was so polite, so Li Hang was naturally happy. "Sovereign Ting." A fat elder cupped his hands. Elder Jiang. Ting Qingshan smiled and cupped his hands. Brother Ting. The cold, golden-cloaked man carried a godly sword on his back and had a red mole between his eyebrows. He was Qin Shiqi of the Ying family, who had fought with Pei San in the past. Qin Shiqi cupped his hands and said, Brother Ting, congratulations on attaining the insightful emptiness realm. The demonic dragon Violet Rain also came with you. It's rare to see the demonic dragon. Ting Qingshan smiled and said, Brother Violet Rain heard about the battle between the Mani Temple and the Heavenly God Palace from me. Therefore, he asked to come and watch the battle. Huang Tianqin and Lu Xia of Emperor Yu's hall, who were nearby, watched the group of people chatting with Ting Qingshan. They then looked at the demonic dragon Violet Rain and the undying phoenix in the sky and felt angry. Ting Qingshan is so lucky. Even the demonic dragon Violet Rain became friends with him, Lu Xia couldn't help but say. Extreme prosperity leads to decline. Let's see how long Ting Qingshan can be proud of himself. Huang Tianqin, who was filled with anger last time, wanted to suppress Ting Qingshan's arrogance. However, it was obvious that Ting Qingshan had attained the insightful emptiness realm and had brought the undying phoenix and the demonic dragon Violet Rain with him. Emperor Yu's hall was completely suppressed in terms of momentum. Moreover, in terms of popularity, Ting Qingshan's popularity was obviously better than that of Emperor Yu's halls. The sun rose and the blazing sunlight radiated heat. The endless army on the ground and the countless monks in the mountains were still confronting each other in silence. The emptiness realm experts who were watching the battle from afar were chatting and laughing. Look! Li Heng pointed at the army of the Heavenly God Palace. Ting Qingshan and the others turned to look. In the sky above the army of the Heavenly God Palace, several figures flew up. The leader was Pei San, who wore a light yellow cloak and stood on the godly thunderbolt hawk. Beside him were the god of heaven Su Mengta, the one-armed Li Chao, and Pei San's brother, Pei Hao. The king of beasts, Wu Ho, and the king of the western region, Tu Zhang, each sat on a golden Dananate flying demonic beast. The group of people hovered high in the sky. At the same time, a cold voice resounded in the heavens and the earth. From now on, the Mani Temple will no longer exist in the land of the 9 prefectures. This cold voice resounded in the heavens and the earth, resounding in the ears of everyone in the Heavenly God Palace and the Mani Temple. Pass down my order, Pei San said coldly. Attack! Flatten the Mani Temple. Immediately, a deafening roar of agreement came from the endless army of steel below. Pei San, the Mani Temple has no enmity with you. It won't be too late to fight after we clear things up. 5 purple-cloaked monks were flying in the sky. The one who spoke was the young monk, Fan Kong. The people of the Mani Temple felt very sullen. The Heavenly God Palace attacked them for no reason. Now they attacked without saying anything. The people of the Mani Temple were confused. Humph! Pei San humphed coldly. Among the army of the Heavenly God Palace that had agreed to the Mani Temple's order, a great number of soldiers dashed towards the Mani Temple. It was as if a flood had broken through a dam and was rushing towards the Mani Temple. Everyone, attack! Pei San said coldly. Then, he stood on the back of the godly Thunderbolt Hawk and flew towards the Mani Temple. The Emptiness Realm experts also charged towards the Mani Temple. In Ting Qingshan's ears, he could only hear the roars of killing that were like waves. The entire earth seemed to tremble. As the army of the Heavenly God Palace dashed up the mountain path, they clashed with the monks and monk soldiers of the Mani Temple. Blood splattered everywhere. A bloody, crazy, and terrifying war had begun. Sovereign Pei, this is the holy land of the Buddhist sect. Don't you dare to be presumptuous. A loud and clear voice resounded in everyone's mind. A gigantic emptiness realm bird-type demonic beast, the golden-winged roc, spread its wings and swooped down rapidly from the top of a mountain in the distance. A barefooted monk dressed in an ordinary yellow monk robe stood on its back. The monk's entire body was surrounded by a faint golden radiance, and faint sounds of Zen could be heard echoing in the air. Ha ha! Pei-san laughed arrogantly. He stepped on the godly thunderbolt hawk and flew towards the monk. Almost instantly, Pei-san and the barefooted monk leaped up. Roar, boom, the moment they collided, a blurry golden radiance radiated in all directions. A blurry golden palm threw Pei-san to the ground, and the yellow-cloaked monk landed back on the back of the golden-winged rock. Screech, the godly thunderbolt hawk immediately streaked across the sky and intercepted Pei-san. Pei-san landed on the back of the godly thunderbolt hawk. End of 2 chapters. Chapter 602. The Emptiness Realm. Experts of the various sects, who were watching from afar, couldn't help but gasp. The Mani Temple is so powerful. They actually have such an unparalleled expert. Who is this yellow-cloaked monk? He actually defeated Pei-san with just one palm strike. The Emptiness Realm experts, including Ting Qingshan, were all astonished. In everyone's opinion, Pei-san, the sovereign of the Heavenly God Palace, was definitely an invincible demon-like figure in the land of the 9 prefectures. Ting Qingshan's pupils shrank as he stared at the 2 people who were standing on the backs of the golden-winged rock and the godly thunderbolt hawk. He was shocked as he thought to himself, although Pei-san didn't use the gloves, his punch was still extremely powerful. He was completely defeated. He was defeated by the yellow-cloaked monk. In his mind, Ting Qingshan had long since believed that Pei-san was the strongest human in the land of the 9 prefectures. However, the scene just now, haha, this feels great. An arrogant laughter came from the sky. Pei-san, who was wearing a light yellow cloak, was standing on the back of the godly thunderbolt hawk. Gray light swirled around him, making him look like a demonic god. He was looking at the yellow-cloaked monk who was standing calmly on the back of the golden-winged rock. Pei-san's laughter resonated in the heavens and the earth as he said, "I didn't expect that someone in the Mani Temple had actually mastered the Golden Buddha." Golden Buddha? The Emptiness Realm experts who were watching from afar were confused. The Golden Buddha was the godly-level secret codex of the Mani Temple. Normally, an Emptiness Realm expert of the Buddhist sect should be able to cultivate the Golden Buddha. Was there something special about cultivating the Golden Buddha? It seems that Sovereign Pei knows a lot about the Mani Temple. The yellow-cloaked monk stood on the back of the golden-winged rock and put his palms together as he said with a smile, "I have been meditating for 18 years. Sovereign Pei, you are so familiar with the secrets of the Mani Temple now that you have mastered the Golden Buddha. I also heard that you know the 6-syllable Sanskrit mantra of the Mani Temple. Sovereign Pei, where did you learn it from?" The yellow-cloaked monk's voice was calm and peaceful. "So what if it's a Buddhist sect? I have a set of tantric hand seals. I heard that the Golden Buddha's hand seal technique is also very impressive. I, Pei-san, want to broaden my horizons." Pei-san's words were filled with fighting spirit. The moment he finished speaking, his aura completely changed. He became like a carved ancient Buddha, solemn and lofty. The yellow-robed monk's expression changed, and he immediately formed a seal with his hands. Golden light erupted from his body. "Receive my great world annihilation imprint." After Pei-san finished speaking, he transformed into a bolt of lightning and charged toward the yellow-robed monk. For a moment, the surroundings were filled with an oppressive aura. The armies of the Heavenly God Palace and the Mani Temple, as well as the Emptiness Realm experts, fought against each other. However, the Emptiness Realm experts from both sides were paying attention to Pei-san and the yellow-cloaked monk. Everyone knew that the foundations and the strength of the Emptiness Realm experts of both sides were equal. Therefore, the result of the battle between Pei-san and the yellow-cloaked monk would determine the outcome of the battle of life and death. Pooh! Hua! Muffled noises resounded from the sky, and visible ripples spread out. Even the emptiness realm experts didn't dare to approach the too insightful emptiness realm expert. Ordinary people couldn't even see the two of them. They could only see a beam of golden light and a beam of gray light colliding with each other. These two are actually competing with each other and not fighting to the death? Ting Qingshan frowned as he watched. With his current strength and experience, he could tell that the battle between Pei San and the yellow-cloaked monk seemed to be very intense. However, it was obvious that both sides were competing with each other. All of them were gradually unleashing attacks that were even more powerful than before. At this moment, Ting Qingshan believed that he was confident that he could withstand the attacks. Ting Qingshan's facial expression changed slightly. They're getting serious. A smile appeared on Ting Qingshan's face. A beam of gray and a beam of golden light spread out, and two figures floated in the air. Sovereign Pei, your hand seals of the Tantric Buddhism sect are indeed profound. I admire you. The yellow-cloaked monk put his palms together and said with a smile. You didn't waste your time meditating on the Buddha mountain. Pei San's aura changed again. Pei San's aura changed from that of an enlightened monk to one of ferocity. At the same time, a gigantic illusory figure appeared behind Pei San. The illusory figure was a black-furred godly ape. The illusory figure of the black-furred godly ape was blurry, but its ferocious face and wide-open mouth could be seen. Chi-Chi. Pei San's hands flashed, and he put on a pair of weapon gloves. Although martial ancestor Shiga of the Mani Temple is powerful, you juniors are getting worse with each generation. Pei San's voice became rough and ferocious. He sounded like a human-shaped beast talking. You only know how to follow the methods of your predecessors, but you don't know how to walk your own path. Yellow-cloaked monk, I spent a lot of effort to create this Tao of myriad beasts. Come and try it. The yellow-cloaked monk put his palms together with a smile and said, The method passed down by the martial ancestor is broad and profound. I haven't even fully understood it. How would I dare to be greedy and create my own cultivation method? Although I only have 10 to 20% of the martial ancestor's abilities, it is enough to fight against Sovereign Pei. You overestimate yourself. Pei San sneered. Roar! The huge shadow of the black-haired godly ape behind Pei San let out an angry roar. Pei San's body moved and he dashed forward like an ape. His fist, which was wearing a pair of golden gloves, was like a meteorite falling from the sky. It smashed towards the yellow-cloaked monk. The yellow-cloaked monk's face glowed with a golden light. A golden swastika appeared in the center of his right palm. Break! Pei San let out a fierce and crazy roar. His eyes were filled with a wild red color. Tut! The yellow-cloaked monk pushed his right palm forward slowly, as if he was pushing something extremely important with great difficulty. His fist, which was covered with a flowing gray light, spun. The palm, which was glowing with a golden light and had the swastika on its palm, collided with the fist. There was no sound. But soon after, it was as if the moment of the destruction of the world had arrived. The entire world let out a muffled groan. A shockwave that was even more ferocious than before spread out. The speed of this shockwave was so fast that no one could dodge it. It directly spread to the ground. Many soldiers who could not dodge in time were directly smashed into pieces and broken bones. The ground shook violently, and many deep trenches appeared. Ting Qingshan, who had been watching calmly from afar, raised his eyebrows. Crack! Pop! These two sounds were very soft. Compared to the previous explosions, they were almost negligible. However, Ting Qingshan could hear them. Broken bones? Moreover, there were two sounds. Two people's bones were broken. Or one person's bones were broken in two places. Or were there other sounds of bones breaking? Ha ha! Pei San laughed wildly. There was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. He dashed towards the yellow-cloaked monk again. Ordinary people could not see clearly, but Ting Qingshan could see that Pei San's right hand was already behind his back. The bones in his forearm were twisted in a strange way. It was obvious that the bones in Pei San's right arm were broken. He could no longer use his right hand. Palace head Pei, since you are seeking death, I will send you on your way. The yellow-cloaked monk's voice also became cold. His face was slightly pale. His right palm was also twisted in a strange way. It was also seriously injured. At this moment, both of them were using their left hands to attack. Ha, ha. Pei San let out a beastly sound. At the same time, the phantom behind him changed again and again. There was the phantom of the divine ape and the strange phantom of the dragon turtle. His left hand sometimes formed a claw, sometimes a fist, and sometimes a palm. He was like a crazy beast, launching all kinds of attacks at the yellow-cloaked monk. Even his legs, shoulders, knees, and elbows became Pei San's means of attack. Compared to Pei San's crazy attacks, although the yellow-cloaked monk was also crazy, his use of elbows, knees, and other parts of the body was obviously different from Pei San's. Puchi. SSSSS. Two streams of light madly tangled with each other in midair. From time to time, pieces of flesh would fly and blood would splatter. Hold your breath. Silence. All the spectating Emptiness Realm experts, including the Emptiness Realm experts of the Heavenly God Palace and the Mani Temple, stopped and stared at the two insightful Emptiness Realm experts who were fighting crazily in midair. The two of them are so powerful. Ting Qingshan felt pressured as he stared at the sky in the distance. The sharp claws that could split the mountains and split the earth, the punches that could shake the heavens and the earth, and the legs that spun like the tail of a demonic dragon. Every move was extremely fierce and fierce. Every move was like the attack of a peerless, ferocious beast. The yellow-cloaked monk was also fighting with all his might and was extremely powerful. However, it was obvious that his aura was completely suppressed by Pei San's ferocious aura of a myriad of beasts. Sometimes, Pei San's claws would tear off a piece of flesh, and sometimes, Pei San would beat the monk until he vomited blood. Of course, the yellow-cloaked monk would occasionally exchange blows with Pei San and severely injure him. Crack! A crisp sound was heard. Pei San's right knee struck the yellow-cloaked monk's chest. Even though the monk was protected by the godly armor, the crisp sound of bones breaking could still be heard. Phew! Pei San's lightning-fast left hand was like a sharp knife as it sliced through the yellow-cloaked monk's neck. As the yellow-cloaked monk roared crazily, the monk's head was sent flying. Bang! Pei San was also struck by the yellow-cloaked monk's dying blow. He vomited blood and was sent flying. Ha 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 ha! Liao Yuan, you died in my hands after all. Pei San's entire body was covered in blood and his clothes were torn. He stared at the flying head with a ferocious expression. The yellow-cloaked monk's head was sent flying. However, because his Naiwan palace was not destroyed, he was still alive. Who are you? How do you know my name? The yellow-cloaked monk's powerful spirit shouted angrily and fearfully through the power of the world. Ha ha, let me tell you. My name is... Pei San instantly dashed over and whispered the answer into the yellow-cloaked monk's ear. You are. The yellow-cloaked monk's eyes widened. Pei San waved the sharp claws on his left hand and pierced the yellow-cloaked monk's head, creating 4 bloody holes. His claws pierced through the Naiwan Palace world in the yellow-cloaked monk's head. As soon as the Naiwan Palace world was broken, the yellow-cloaked monk's spirit dissipated. Even if an insightful Emptiness Realm expert lost his life force, the powerful spirit in the Naiwan Palace could last for a long time before he died. Ha ha, Pei San, whose entire body was covered in blood, raised his head and laughed wildly in midair. He then pointed at the temple in the mountains and shouted, "Flatten the Mani Temple! Kill them all! Kill them all!" Before he could finish speaking, Pei San's facial expression suddenly changed and he spat out a mouthful of blood. This is the end of the first chapter. I'm writing it a little slower now. Please forgive me. The last part of the plot was a little difficult to write. Chapter 603. Martial Uncle. The body of the young monk, Fan Kong, was trembling. Martial Ancestor. When the Emptiness Realm elders of the Mani Temple saw the head in Pei San's hand, their faces were filled with anger and fear. The martial ancestor, who had been cultivating in seclusion on the Buddha mountain, had died. The elders of the Elder Palace were not sad, but they were terrified. They knew that the death of their martial ancestor meant that the war between the Heavenly God Palace and the Mani Temple was over. Everyone, scatter and run. We must rebuild the Mani Temple in the future, the white-haired old monk said to the other 4 monks with the use of the sound transmission technique. Let's go. Everyone leave first. I am reaching the end of my lifespan. I will die with the temple. A bald old monk with long eyebrows said indifferently. Instantly, the 5 elders of the Elder Hall made their decision. 3 of them flew in different directions while the other 2 elders landed on the mountainside of the Mani Temple. They looked down at the army of the Heavenly God Palace and coldly looked at them. Kill them all. Don't let any of them escape. Pei San's crazy voice sounded again. Pei San rode on the godly Thunderbolt Hawk and chased after a black-haired old monk. The black-haired old monk immediately dove into the ground, trying to escape. Li Chao, the god of heaven Sumengta, and Pei Hao, the 3 Emptiness Realm culmination experts, also flew away. An Emptiness Realm demonic beast, the 6-eared earth-drilling mouse, emerged from the ground. Before the war, Pei San went to find the 6-eared earth-drilling mouse. After luring it with benefits and intimidating its power, the 6-eared earth-drilling mouse agreed to help Pei San. Chi. As soon as the black-haired old monk dove into the ground, he felt a sharp aura shooting towards him. He couldn't dodge in time. Poochie! A huge hole appeared in the black-haired old monk's chest. Blood gushed out of the hole. The black-haired old monk immediately felt his vitality draining away and his speed decreasing. You are courting death. Pei San kicked the black-haired old monk's head, causing it to explode. Humph! Pei San's eyes flashed with a fierce glint. Ting Qingshan and the others who were watching from afar were also shocked by Pei San's ferocity. Brother Ting Qingshan, what do you think happened between Pei San and the Mani Temple? Why did he act so crazily? Why didn't he spare the Mani Temple? Li Hang, who was standing beside Ting Qingshan, asked curiously. Ting Qingshan shook his head and said, I don't know either. However, what Pei San has been doing all these years is obviously to prepare for the destruction of the Mani Temple today. Spending so much effort, it's definitely not a small grudge. Yes. Li Hang nodded. Unfortunately, this 1,000-year-old temple is going to be destroyed today. It's time and fate. Ting Qingshan shook his head and smiled. The scene on the battlefield became even crazier. The morale of the Heavenly God Palace had reached its peak, while the people of the Mani Temple were in despair. Many of these Buddhist monks were not afraid of death. They were willing to sacrifice their lives for the temple. All of a sudden, the mountains of the Mani Temple were filled with killings. The mountains were dyed red by the bloody killings. The holy land of the Buddhist sect had become the Avicii Hell. With the help of Pei San, the insightful Emptiness Realm expert, the Heavenly God Palace had the absolute advantage. Of the 5 Emptiness Realm experts of the Mani Temple, only one managed to escape. Fan Kong. Pei San grabbed the head of the yellow-cloaked monk. His face was pale, but his eyes glowed fiercely. He shouted loudly, Now, you are the only Emptiness Realm expert left in the Mani Temple. I will eradicate the Mani Temple. However, I will not let the Buddhist sect of martial ancestor Shiga die. If you are willing, you can join the Heavenly God Palace. I will let you lead the branch of the Zen sect under the Heavenly God Palace. His voice continued to spread. What? What is Pei San trying to do? The emptiness realm experts in the distance were still sighing about the destruction of the Mani temple. However, when they heard Pei San's words, they were stunned. Let their enemy, the monk Fan Kong, join the Heavenly God Palace? Let him lead the branch of the Zen sect under the Heavenly God Palace? What is Pei San trying to do? He destroyed the Mani temple, but he didn't stop the inheritance of the Buddhist sect. Instead, he designated it as the branch of the Zen sect under the Great Prairie? Ting Qingshan was confused. The Zen sect? Li Hang, who was standing at the side, laughed and said, "It is said that the god of Heaven Mountain in the Great Prairie is called the Tantric sect. He changed the inheritance of the Buddhist sect to the Zen sect. It seems like he wants to put the Zen sect and the Tantric sect as two branches under the Heavenly God Palace. He is really arrogant. He actually wants to put his Tantric sect and the inheritance of martial ancestor Shiga." The fat elder of the Wan Xiang sect laughed and said, "Brotherly, so what if martial ancestor Shiga is powerful? It is already the past. Pei San is now one of the most powerful people in the land of the 9 prefectures. He destroyed the Mani temple and designated the branch of the Buddhist sect as the Zen sect. Even if there are objections, who would dare to resist?" Li Hang rubbed his nose and chuckled. "That's right. The one with the bigger fist has the most influence. Since Pei San killed the monk in the yellow robe, why is he still holding the head of the monk in the yellow robe?" Ting Qingshan furrowed his eyebrows. It was fine if Pei San killed one person, but why did he still hold the head of the monk in his hand? However, the strength that Pei San displayed just now made Ting Qingshan feel an unprecedented pressure. There is still a big gap between me and Pei San. The monk in the yellow robe was stronger than me, but he was still killed. I must comprehend life and death as soon as possible. I must reach the culmination of the insightful emptiness realm. At this moment, Pei San held the head of the monk in the yellow robe and stood on the back of the godly thunderbolt hawk. He pointed in the direction of the Mani temple and shouted, "All members of the Heavenly God Palace, listen up. Those who surrender to the Mani temple will be spared from death. Those who resist will be killed without mercy." Immediately, the morale of the soldiers of the Heavenly God Palace increased, and they responded loudly. The armored soldiers dashed into the mountains where the Mani temple was located like a raging flood. There were over 1 million soldiers of the Mani temple, but not all of them were willing to die. Some of them still chose to surrender. However, more than half of them chose to fight to the death. Even though they knew that they were going to die, they were still willing to fight to the death. This showed how loyal the monks of the Mani temple were. Poochie! Hiss! Flesh and blood flew everywhere. Blood stained the ground and the walls of the temple. The Mani temple was not the only one that suffered great losses. The Heavenly God Palace also suffered great losses. Because of this, even the emptiness realm experts of the Heavenly God Palace hurriedly helped to kill the thorns in the Mani temple. This helped the Heavenly God Palace minimize their losses. At this moment, Pei San, Ting Qingshan, and the others flew over. Everyone. Pei San landed on the ground and looked around. Sovereign Pei. Many people cupped their hands and greeted. Pei San smiled and nodded. He smiled at Ting Qingshan and then looked at Huang Tianqin and Lu Xia of Emperor Yu's hall and said, "Emperor Yu's hall and the Ying family." Pei San looked at Qin Shiqi and said, "The Heavenly God Palace is not interested in the territory of the Mani temple. After this battle, the army of the Heavenly God Palace will split into 2 groups. One group will pass through Yuzhou and return to Qingzhou and Yuzhou. The other group will pass through Yongzhou of the Ying family and return to the Great Prairie in the north. I wonder if Huang Tianqin and Qin Shiqi will agree to this?" What? Ting Qingshan and the others were shocked. They were not interested in the territory of the Mani temple? They sacrificed so many people and came here just to destroy the Mani temple? Huang Tianqin and Qin Shiqi exchanged a glance. "Sovereign Pei, don't worry. As long as you don't harass the people of Yuzhou, there will be no problem. Huang Tianqin nodded with a smile. Sure. Huang Tianqin nodded and said 2 words. When the Heavenly God Palace attacked the Mani Temple, Emperor Yu's Hall and the Ing family wouldn't help the Heavenly God Palace. If they did, they would offend the Mani Temple. However, now that the Mani Temple was destroyed, Emperor Yu's Hall and the Ing family didn't need to worry about the Heavenly God Palace leaving. Moreover, they were confident that the Heavenly God Palace wouldn't be so stupid as to provoke Emperor Yu's Hall and the Ing family after destroying the Mani Temple. The territories of Liangzhou and Rongzhou are in the Guiyuan sect. Emperor Yu's Hall and the Ing family, if you are capable, come and fight for them. With this, Pei San turned and flew away. For a moment, the emptiness realm experts of the various sects looked at each other. Liangzhou and Rongzhou? Emperor Yu's Hall and the Ing family naturally coveted the territories of 2 prefectures. The Guiyuan sect, which occupied Yanzhou, was in a favorable position. However, it was much weaker. Yes. Ting Qingshan nodded slightly and thought to himself, when I go back, I will ask Qingshan Enterprise to build guilds in the 2 prefectures in the west so that people in these 2 prefectures can learn the internal martial art. Ting Qingshan couldn't be bothered to fight for hegemony. After all, even if the Mani Temple was destroyed, there were still many monks in Liangzhou and Rongzhou. It would be very difficult to conquer these 2 prefectures. On the 13th of June, there was a bloody battle. Even though the Heavenly God Palace had an absolute advantage, the casualties of the Heavenly God Palace amounted to 400,000, while the casualties of the Mani Temple amounted to 1 million. The rest surrendered. This bloody battle caused the Mani Temple, the sacred land of the Buddhist sect, to be filled with the stench of blood all year round. Even after 10 years, many rocks on the mountain would still be stained with dark brown blood. On the 14th of June, the sun set. In the backyard of a luxurious mansion in Qingzhou there was a huge tomb. At this moment, Pei San, who was alone, was standing in front of the tombstone with Liao Yuan's head in his hand. Gu sang. Pei San caressed the tombstone and said in a gentle voice, "It has been so many years. I don't even remember how long it has been. I said that I would go and fetch you. However, I didn't do it back then. However, I swore in front of your tombstone that I would destroy the Mani Temple and bring Liao Yuan's head back with my own hands and place it in front of your tombstone. I did it. It has been too long. It has been too long." Pei San put the head aside and sat beside the tombstone. He leaned against the tombstone and muttered many words in a low voice. Tears rolled down his face without him noticing. The sun rose and set. For 9 days, Pei San stayed beside the tombstone. The location of the tomb was a forbidden area that Pei San had set up. Even his daughter, Shuelyan, and his direct disciples were not allowed to enter. Anyone who dared to enter the tomb, including one of his important subordinates, was killed by the crazy Pei San. Since then, no one dared to enter the tomb. The maintenance of the tomb was done by Pei San himself. On the 10th day, Pei San left the tomb and started something that he hadn't done for a long time: secluded cultivation. 2 chapters completed. Chapter 604. After Pei San went into closed-door cultivation, the land of the 9 prefectures quietened down. Only Rongzhou and Liangzhou, which were located in the western part of the land of the 9 prefectures, occasionally had small-scale battles erupt. The Emperor Yu's Hall and the Ing family, which were neighboring these 2 prefectures, sent their men and started to conquer territories in these 2 prefectures. Even the Guiyuan sect, which was not considered strong, had taken over several counties near Yanzhou. The only obstacle for the 3 sects was the remnants of the Mani Temple. The Mani Temple was deeply rooted in these 2 prefectures. Moreover, there were many remnant armies in various places. Moreover, the people of the 2 prefectures believed in Buddhism, so it was extremely difficult to unify them. Compared to the 3 supreme sects, the Xing-Yi sect was very relaxed. The Qingshan Guild Hall easily moved into the various counties. After all, none of the three great sects were willing to become enemies with the Xing-Yi sect just because of a small matter like the establishment of the Qingshan enterprise. As for the remaining members of the Mani Temple, they didn't dare to provoke them. For a period of time, Qingshan Enterprise Hall was the fastest to spread throughout Rongzhou and Liangzhou. In addition, Qingshan Enterprise Hall sold the tiger form fist art, which caused the internal martial art to spread even faster. Although there were small-scale wars in the land of the 9 prefectures, however, the emptiness realm experts in the land of the 9 prefectures remained calm. Seclusion was seclusion, and teaching was teaching. In the blink of an eye, half a year had passed. It was now winter. Hoo-ho! The cold wind whistled as if an invisible beast was roaring. Snowflakes the size of goose feathers fluttered in the air, turning the entire world into a world of snow. In the heavenly god palace of Qingzhou, Pei Xuelian, who was dressed in a white fox fur coat, dashed out of her room. She looked like a fairy as she drifted away quickly. "Father, are you coming out of seclusion?" Pei Xuelian's face was filled with joy as she rushed towards the place where Pei San was cultivating in seclusion. Whoosh! Whoosh! 2 figures rushed over from Heaven God Palace. They were Pei Xuelian and Li Chao from Sword Sect. When the 2 of them landed outside an elegant pavilion, they stopped. "Father has been in seclusion for so long. He's finally coming out," Pei Xuelian said happily. "Junior sister, what kind of breakthrough do you think Master will make this time?" Li Chao's eyes shone brightly. "With Master's achievements, if he makes another breakthrough, maybe he'll reach the omnipotent realm." "A supreme expert?" Pei Xuelian was slightly taken aback. Then, she nodded and said, "It's very possible. Father hasn't been in seclusion for a long time. This time, I'm sure there will be some gains." Suddenly, the wooden door of the pavilion seemed to be pushed open by an invisible hand. Pei San, who was dressed in a loose golden robe, had a full beard on his face. However, his eyes were like 2 black jade stones, and his skin glowed faintly. It was as lustrous as a high-quality jade, sparkling and translucent. "Supreme expert? Xuelian, it is not easy to become an omnipotent expert," Pei San said with a smile. "Father?" Pei Xuelian was confused. "Master?" Li Chao was also shocked. They had followed Pei San for more than 100 years, so they naturally knew Pei San well. Although Pei San treated his disciple and daughter well, Pei Xuelian and Li Chao could sense a terrifying, ferocious aura hidden under his mask of calmness and gentleness. They knew that their master, father, would never hurt them. However, deep in their hearts, the 2 of them felt a trace of fear towards Pei San. Today, however, they suddenly realized that Pei San no longer had the terrifying aura that he used to have. Instead, he was mellow and didn't reveal any aura. He looked like a kind elder. Based on the change in aura, Li Chao and Pei Xuelian knew that Pei San must have gained something. "Xuelian, Chao." Pei San handed over the 3 pieces of paper and said, "Take a look at these 3 letters." "Yes, master." "Yes, father." The one-armed Li Chao and Pei Xuelian took the letters. Pei Xuelian took 2, and Li Chao took 1. Both of them looked at the letters, wanting to see what Pei San had written. "What?" "No, master." Pei Xuelian and Li Chao looked at the letters as if they had seen a ghost. They were extremely shocked. "Father, you." Pei Xuelian raised her head and looked at Pei San. "Don't ask too many questions." Pei San smiled and said, "Follow what I have written. Arrange for people to send these letters to the 3 supreme sects as soon as possible." Pei Xuelian and Li Chao looked at each other. They were worried. Pei San frowned. Pei Xuelian and Li Chao knew that no one could change Pei San's orders. "Yes, master, father." Pei Xuelian and Li Chao immediately put away the 3 letters and gave their orders. In the East Flower Garden, where the sovereign of the Xing-Yi sect, Ting Qingshan, lived in the distant Yangzhou in the south. A cold wind blew. The 13 elites of the Xingyi sect were listening to Ting Qingshan's teachings on the training field. Of these 13 people, 8 had reached the Grandmaster realm in the internal martial art. The other 5 were the most promising cultivators in the Xingyi sect. They were the geniuses of the internal martial art that the Xingyi sect had focused on nurturing. These 13 elites included Ting Shou, the eldest martial brother of the Xingyi sect, and Meng Hong, who was only 14 years old. Practice the first 3 moves of the 9 metal elemental forms of the 5 elemental quintessence, Ting Qingshan ordered. Yes. A sturdy man dressed in gray clothes answered respectfully. Then, he went to the training field and started practicing the first 3 moves of the 9 metal elemental forms. The 5 elemental quintessence was the most valuable book in the Xingyi sect. It was a book that Ting Qingshan had recorded the breathing control, body movements, and conceptions of the 5 fist arts, including the metal elemental fist and the wood elemental fist. The 9 metal elemental forms was also known as the metal elemental fist. However, Ting Qingshan also imparted the fist art step by step. When one reached the Grandmaster realm, he would teach the first 3 move. When one reached the Supreme Force, he would teach the first 6 move. When one reached the middle stage of the Supreme Force, he would learn the 9th move. When he saw the 3 moves of the Grandmaster realm, Ting Qingshan couldn't help but shake his head slightly. He instructed, "You are not practicing the right moves. Although you are slightly off, you are still far off from the right move. When you go back, practice the yin-yang cannon fist of the cannon fist carefully. When you have fully comprehended the yin-yang cannon fist, you can practice the first 3 moves of the 9 metal elemental forms." Yes. The burly man revealed a joyful expression as he bowed and replied. The elites of the Xingyi sect all cherished the opportunity to learn from Ting Qingshan. Sometimes they could not comprehend the 9 metal elemental forms even if they tried very hard. However, Ting Qingshan's cultivation stage was much higher than theirs. Ting Qingshan could often see the problem and point out the solution. It seemed that the cannon fist and the 9 metal elemental forms did not match. However, in the eyes of the sturdy man, what Ting Qingshan said was reasonable. No one in the Xingyi sect dared to doubt Ting Qingshan's words. "Next, your name is Meng Hong, right?" Ting Qingshan smiled as he looked at the newly rising genius of the Xingyi sect. "Sovereign." The skinny young man seemed nervous and excited as he stood before Ting Qingshan. "You." Ting Qingshan was about to speak when he suddenly frowned. He turned his head and looked outside. He saw the substitute sovereign of the Xingyi sect, Yang Dong, running towards him. Normally, when Ting Qingshan was teaching the elites of the Xingyi sect, no one was allowed to disturb him. Even if he had secret information, he would not be in a hurry to get it unless something big happened. "Dong, what's the matter?" Ting Qingshan asked. Teacher, take a look." Yang Dong looked pale as he handed the letter to Ting Qingshan. Ting Qingshan took the letter and looked at it. The cover of the letter was glowing with purple gold. It was the most expensive paper in the land of the 9 prefectures, purple gold paper. One had to know that purple gold was much more valuable than gold. This letter alone could be used to buy a good mansion in a city. When Ting Qingshan saw the letter, he frowned. "A letter from Pei San?" Whoosh! Ting Qingshan opened the letter and took out the paper. There were a few lines of words written on the paper. "Ting Qingshan, 6 years from now, on the 18th of December, we will fight on the White Horse Lake in Jiangning County of Yangzhou. There are only a few people in the world who can fight against me. You, Ting Qingshan, are one of them. You and I might be able to use this opportunity to comprehend the profound principles and become powerful. I hope that you, Ting Qingshan, will come. If you don't come, I will have to go to the Xingyi sect to challenge you." At the bottom right corner of the letter, there were 4 words written by Pei San. Challenge me 6 years from now? Ting Qingshan frowned. Compared to Pei San, Ting Qingshan knew that he was no match for Pei San. However, Pei San is forcing me to fight. He said that he will fight me on the White Horse Lake. If I don't go, he will come. Ting Qingshan's good mood was ruined by this letter. 6 years from now? On the White Horse Lake? Fight against Pei San? Teacher. Yang Dong looked at Ting Qingshan anxiously. Go. I know what to do, Ting Qingshan said as he put away the letter. The Xing-Yi sect was not the only sect that received letters. Emperor Yu's Hall and the Ying family in Yongzhou also received letters. What? In the Blind Bear Mountain Range, Huang Tianqin looked at the letter in his hand with an ugly expression on his face. He wants to fight me in 1 year? What does Pei San want? If I don't go, he will come to the Emperor Yu's Hall? Isn't this forcing me to fight? However, if I fight him, I won't win. I will just embarrass myself. I won't fight him. Let's see what he can do. Huang Tianqin threw the letter on the ground angrily. Before the letter landed on the ground, it turned into powder. In the Ying family in the Qinling mountain range. In the deep underground palace, Qin Shiqi, who was wearing a purple gold cloak, opened the envelope and took out the letter. As he read the contents of the letter, he smiled stiffly and said, Interesting. Interesting. Pei San wants to challenge me. Now I have reached the culmination of the insightful emptiness realm. I am only 1 step away from the omnipotent expert realm. However, this step is as difficult as ascending to heaven. If I fight against Pei San, I might be able to comprehend something. I might be able to take the last step and reach the omnipotent expert realm. Qin Shiqi's eyes shone with a sword light. 3 years from now, on the 12th of December, at the peak of the Green Dragon Hill in the Qinling mountain range? All right. 3 years from now, Pei San. I want to see who is stronger. Chapter 1. Chapter 605. In the county city of Jiangning County in Yangzhou, as if the annual festival had just passed, the common people in the city gathered in groups of 2 or 3. They were either playing or chatting in small tea houses on the street. How could this be fake? I just heard it in the restaurant. The sovereign of the Heavenly God Palace, Pei San, directly sent a letter of challenge to the Emperor Yu's Hall, the Ying family and the Xing-Yi sect of Yangzhou. Who are those 2 called? As for sovereignty, there are a total of 3 people. Pei San wants to challenge them one by one. A young master from a rich family with acne on his face was walking leisurely while chatting with the rich young masters beside him. Third brother is right. I've heard about it too. Another fair-skinned handsome young man said, Pei San, the sovereign of the Heavenly God Palace, is one of the 6 supreme sects in the land of the 9 prefectures. The Mani Temple is powerful enough to annihilate the entire Mani Temple. Pei San sent a letter of challenge to Huang Tianqin of Emperor Yu's Hall, Qin Shiqi of the Ying family, and Ting Qingshan of the Xing-Yi sect. They were on the 6th of the 12th lunar month this winter, the 12th of the 12th lunar month 2 years later, and the 18th of the 12th lunar month 5 years later. The locations are the Thousand Island Lake in Yuzhou, the Green Dragon Hill in the Qinling Mountains in Yongzhou, and the White Horse Lake in Jiangning, Yangzhou. Yes, this is it. The slightly plump, rich young master with pimples on his face said hastily, Big brother is right. It is that Huang, Qin Shiqi, and our sovereignty. TSK. This Pei San is quite daring. He actually dared to challenge our sovereignty. He is courting death. Third brother, you're wrong. Pei San is the sovereign of the Heavenly God Palace. As soon as the yellow-clothed rich young master spoke, the pimple-faced rich young master glared at him and roared, Sixth brother, that is our sovereignty. What kind of person is our sovereignty? In the land of the 9 prefectures, who could be a match for sovereignty? Just wait and see. When my internal martial art produces inner strength, I will definitely join the Xing-Yi sect. I want to meet Sovereign Ting even in my dreams. Third bro drank too much today. The handsome youth couldn't help but smile. As these good-for-nothings chatted and laughed along the way, all kinds of discussions could be heard in the tea-houses, restaurants, and even weapon shop. It seems like in Pei San's eyes, these three are the only people in the land of the 9 prefectures who are worth challenging. Even on the street, one could hear the chatter on the side. Of course. Now I think these 4 are the most powerful in the land of the 9 prefectures. Pei San from Qingzhou, Qin Shiqi from Yongzhou, Huang Tianqin from Yuzhou, and Ting Qingshan from Yangzhou. There was a lot of discussion. No one knew where the news of the upcoming battle between the 4 powerhouses had come from. It felt like within a day, everyone in the land of the 9 prefectures was talking about it. Even the names of the 4 people, the location and time of the upcoming battle, were clearly known. In the East Flower Garden of the Xingyi sect, Ting Qingshan and his family were eating together. Who spread this news? Hong Lin was so angry that her face turned red. Father, it seems like the whole world knows about this now. Sister, sit down, Han Wu said with a smile. Why are you angry? Everyone can see it. The Heavenly God Palace must have spread this news secretly. Millions of people in the land of the 9 prefectures know that the 3 most powerful battles are about to take place in the land of the 9 prefectures. Yes. Ting Qingshan smiled and nodded. After all, the Xingyi sect, Emperor Yu's hall, and the Ying family only know that we are being invited. We don't know about the other 2 sections. That's why they spread the news in such detail. Only the Heavenly God Palace knew about it. I only found out about the location of the other 2 from this news. On the 6th of December this year, at the Thousand Island Lake in Yuzhou. 2 years later, on the 12th of December, at the Green Dragon Hill in the Qinling Mountain Range in Yongzhou. 5 years later, at the White Horse Lake in E-City in Yangzhou. The people that Pei San chose are the insightful emptiness realm experts in the land of the 9 prefectures. In the land of the 9 prefectures, we are probably the only 4 insightful emptiness realm experts. Ting Qingshan knew a lot about the forces in the land of the 9 prefectures. After all, the information network of the Xingyi sect was already very powerful. Ting Qingshan even found out that the 2 brothers, Pei San and Pei Hao, were from the Wanxiang sect. The Pei clan was originally a clan in the Wanxiang sect. However, because of Pei San, the Pei clan split from the Wanxiang sect. After all, the Wanxiang sect did not fight for hegemony. Based on this, Ting Qingshan finally understood why Pei San could rise so mysteriously and quietly. It turned out that the Wanxiang sect was helping him secretly. Although the Wanxiang sect did not fight for hegemony, it still helped Pei San. Father, who is the strongest among the 4 of you? Hong Lin couldn't help but ask. Pei San should be the strongest among the 4 of us. Ting Qingshan thought for a while and said, however, I am not sure about Qin Shiqi's strength. I think he is not much weaker than Pei San. I should be ranked 3rd among the 4. Huang Tianqin is the weakest among the 4. Han Wu hastily said, Father, how about the duel between you and Pei San? Don't worry. We still have 6 years. Ting Qingshan smiled and said, Pei San has some tricks up his sleeves. He is worried that we will avoid the duel. Therefore, he spread the news to the entire land of the 9 prefectures. In this way, the 3 of us will not only represent ourselves, we will also represent our respective sections. If I avoid the duel, the reputation of the Xingyi sect will be tarnished. The reputation of Yangzhou will be suppressed. The other 2 have to consider this as well. Ting Qingshan knew clearly that Ting Qingshan was using the power of millions of people to force them to accept the duel. Li Jun worriedly said softly, Qingshan, in this duel, you and Pei San. I can guess what Pei San is thinking. Ting Qingshan smiled and said, during the battle at the Mani Temple, Pei San seemed to be a little crazy. I have a feeling that Pei San and the Mani Temple have a deep relationship. After the destruction of the Mani Temple, Pei San's state of mind might have changed. Half a year after the destruction of the Mani Temple, Pei San must have figured something out. That is why he decided to challenge the three of us. The order of the duels is also mysterious. Ting Qingshan smiled. Honglin, who was standing at the side, guessed, order? Father, according to you, Huang Tianqin is the weakest among the four of us. Why is he ranked first? Father, you are the last one? The order of the duels is not based on strength. It is based on Pei San's expectations. Ting Qingshan said. In Pei San's mind, Huang Tianqin has the lowest expectations. Pei San had the lowest expectations for Huang Tianqin. Therefore, he challenged me to a duel first to intimidate Qin Shiqi and me. As for Qin Shiqi, he has higher expectations. As for me, he probably thinks that I have improved very quickly. Therefore, he gave me 6 years. By then, I will be able to fight against him. I want him to gain enlightenment during the duel and become an omnipotent expert. Honglin, Hongwu, and Lei Xiaoru, who had been listening quietly, nodded in understanding. In Lei Xiaoru's eyes, what Ting Qingshan said was very attractive. Because these 4 people were the 4 most powerful people in the land of the 9 prefectures. Although Ting Qingshan felt pressured by Pei San, he was motivated to fight. In both his previous and current lives, he had never been afraid of a duel. This made him even more obsessed with the 3 postures. He wanted to transform the power of the 5 elemental world into the power of the living world. A month had passed since the news of the duel between the 4 omnipotent experts in the land of the 9 prefectures. Father, look. Honglin ran over quickly with a secret manual in her hand. Ting Qingshan turned around and saw the book in Honglin's hand. The title of the book was Duel of the Strongest. Father, this is a book published by the Wanxiang sect today. You and the other 3 people are written in it. Take a look. Honglin handed the book to Ting Qingshan excitedly. Ting Qingshan knew that the book sold by the Wanxiang sect appeared on the counter on the same day in the land of the 9 prefectures. Before this, even the Xingyi sect didn't know that the Wanxiang sect was going to publish this book. Oh! Ting Qingshan took the book and flipped it open. Since the creation of the land of the 9 prefectures, the level of turmoil and chaos in the land of the 9 prefectures can be ranked in the top 3 in the history of the land of the 9 prefectures. Ever since the rise of Ting Qingshan and the Heavenly God Palace, Ting Qingshan created the branch of internal martial arts, which spread throughout the land of the 9 prefectures. Currently, 49 out of the 72 people in the earthly ranking are internal martial arts cultivators. The Heavenly God Palace displayed its terrifying strength. Qingzhou, Yuzhou, and the northern Great Prairie were all occupied by them. They even sent 1,000,000 soldiers through the desert, through the western region, and took the Golden Road to the Mani Temple. They destroyed the Mani Temple, which used to be the most powerful sect in the land of the 9 prefectures. Now, the sovereign of the Heavenly God Palace, the mysterious and powerful Pei San, invited the 3 most powerful cultivators of the past to have a decisive battle. The Wanxiang sect compiled the detailed information about the 4 powerful cultivators in the past hundreds of years. That is how the book, Battle of the Strongest, was created. Ting Qingshan continued to read with interest. This book recorded the life experiences of Huang Tianqin, Qin Shiqi, Pei San, and himself. Ting Qingshan had almost forgotten many of these events. However, the Wanxiang sect recorded them clearly. A few hundred years ago, Huang Tianqin and Qin Shiqi were very famous. Although Pei San was mysterious, Ting Qingshan was amazed by the major events that were revealed by the Wanxiang sect. When Ting Qingshan read the book, Battle of the Strongest, spread rapidly throughout the land of the 9 prefectures. A large number of cultivators and even wealthy people were talking about it before and after meals. Everyone had a better understanding of these four experts, and they also knew how powerful they were. Sovereign Pei will definitely win. How could he dare to challenge three powerful cultivators in a row if he is not powerful enough? I think Qin Shiqi will win. Qin Shiqi has been cultivating for almost 400 years. However, he will win every battle. Look at the book. When he was 17 years old, he went out of the Great Wall with a sword. Ting Qingshan. Ting Qingshan will definitely win. Ting Qingshan was able to create the branch of internal martial art, which is comparable to the branch of the Buddhist sect and the Taoist sect, who can compete with the other three. In another 100 years, Ting Qingshan will definitely win. However, Ting Qingshan is at a disadvantage because of his age. For a time, people in the land of the 9 prefectures were talking about the 4 powerful cultivators. Countless people admired Pei San, Huang Tianqin, Qin Shiqi, and Ting Qingshan. Countless cultivators in the land of the 9 prefectures were looking forward to the grand event, the third battle of the strongest. While they were looking forward to it, while they were arguing, the people of the land of the 9 prefectures had been waiting for the 6th day of the 12th lunar month. On this day, the first battle of the 3 battle of the strongest, Huang Tianqin and Pei San. 2 chapters completed. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.